Okay, I think we should be live now. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the live stream.
Hey.
So first
how's it going, guys?
first thing we want to do is check audio levels, because I'm basically a boomer at this point, and I don't understand technology. So, if I'm too loud, or if anybody else is too loud, let us know in the chat, because we'll fix it right away. I just want to get that out there right away before I forget.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm rapidly aging and gonna. Yeah. All right. So today we get to talk about the General's Handbook 2023, and that is pretty dang exciting because it is exactly what everybody dreaded it to be. It is a wizard season, and the amount of salt that we're going to generate over the next year will fuel every possible effort that we need. We will just, our teeth will rot. We will just have never-ending salt. It'll be amazing. Or at least that was the first impression, right? I'm not so sure it's going to be that bad. Aside from one thing, which we'll talk about later, which I think is the worst thing ever. But
oh, Paul, we forgot something important.
What's that?
And also, I think you're a little. I've listened to the stream a little bit.
Okay.
And but everyone else might be a little quieter. We forgot to put up a poll. What are we gonna put up for a poll?
All right, we could think of a good one here.
Let's see, what army has the best
How
Andtor
excited
Locus?
are we for Magic?
Let's just do something simple. People's first impressions of the GHB. I'm sure people watching this, if you haven't seen it, by the end of the stream, you'll have all the information you need. If you have seen all the other Man Reads books or the leaks that have come out, you can have an informed opinion. So I think that's an easy thing to do.
Which, by the way, shout out. Go watch AOS Coach's video for Man Reads book. The man works really hard.
He does. He's the hardest working man on YouTube.
Heck yeah.
All right, love it, hate it.
We could give it tiers. Give it S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier.
Okay. Sure. I don't think. Is there any chance it's going to be an S tier GHB? I don't know.
Okay, fine. A to whatever. F tier, I guess. It'll be interesting to see the spread.
All right, we'll do A tier, F tier, and something in between. There we go. That'll be the poll for the chat, so you guys can take a look at that. All right, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. First up, I'm very happy to announce that we have a painting contest starting up. It started the other day, July 1st. We are going to be painting Storm Drakes this month. And Dan, why are we painting Storm Drakes?
Because it's the anti-magic season. We're out here. Storm Drakes have a 4-up spell ignore, and that is one of the coolest and most underrated abilities on the Warscroll. Even, back when we had the Hero Face move, honestly, the spell ignore, top tier, especially with debuff hammer going on. A lot of that debuff hammer is spells. Some of it isn't, but And there's this new weird lizard list or something that does a bunch of mortal wounds. That's a thing. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Getting too old for this. So yeah, Storm Drakes. I'm really excited. We haven't done one yet since they came out, and it's a good time to do it. This is about the right season, and these models are dang good. I'm excited. We've already got a couple entries in there, and they look really good. A lot of people went with the box art for this, the box art look, and I kind of like how clean the box art look is. I really like that that turquoisey, not turquoise, I guess it's a lighter,
lighter
turquoise shade. Yeah, it's like a sea green. There we go. That's probably a little more accurate.
Yeah. Well,
I've been abused by these things a lot because I like Magic. So please take your time to paint these. Take plenty of time to paint these.
Right.
Also, we have our fingers crossed for a potential, maybe if they're done punishing dragons, maybe we can bring them down in points a little bit.
Please, the first buff to dragons in existence ever since before they came out.
since 2021. Whatever.
Caleb, as a fellow Seraphon player, how much do you hate Storm Drakes right now?
Oh yeah. I've got a buddy here locally that likes to play him, and I've been beaten many times by his 8 dragons that he'll bring onto the board and crush into my lines turn 1. So it's rough.
There's just
do you ever get the Gardas?
I'm sorry.
You ever get the Gardas dragons too, where it's like the extra mortal wound protection? It's like even if you do get the spell through, it's like okay, I'm gonna roll like 6 5s.
Yeah.
And you spend a turn casting Celestial Doom on Gardas and then sniping him out, but then in that time you just lose the game because there's nothing in the Seraphon book that can kill Stormdrakes efficiently. It's so crazy. Feels awful. They are like the most oppressive unit for Seraphon. I don't know what to do against them.
Yep.
Maybe Croxagores might be the answer.
We have a little bit. We have a little bit more Ren now. So, but in the previous book, there was
True.
I just couldn't even touch them. So
Spoiled it.
yeah.
So we're painting Stormdrakes, and as prizes for this contest, we decided to make some stuff that's going to be hopefully useful this season. So we're thinking a Kron Spine, because spoilers, it's going to be the worst season ever because of the Kron Spine. So we are just going to put the gas pedal on and accelerate right into that. We're going to give up a box of Malign Sorcery and a Lord Veritant, who we are all predicting to be at least a little bit better, being a priest that has an Unbind. That seems like a very useful thing to be this season.
Initial impression, A tier.
He does seem useful, yeah. So put your Stormdrakes, blades or lances? Classic question.
Oh, check the Storm Fac, right? If you go to our Discord. Yeah, join our Discord, by the way. In the Storm Fac, I spent about like a good 45 minutes typing up a whole, like I have graphs, I have everything in there as to why you should take what. So go check it out.
The answer for the next year is blades.
Yeah, the answer for the next year is blades.
I wish they were the same profile. I think the lances, like knights should have lances. I'm sorry, like I don't know what.
I agree.
He's gonna reach down and hit you with his blade. Like, come on.
It's aesthetics.
Take a
Gotta be lance.
Like,
and they look like Bretonnian lances too. It's like, it's so cool.
They're very fancy.
Yeah. So if you have painted Stormdrakes, or if you want to paint up some Stormdrakes, you have until July 31st to drop your entry in the Painting Stormdrakes channel in our Discord. You can check the description in the video, and there should be a link directly to that channel. That'll take you right in there. Just make sure you put a timestamp with your username and the date. That way we know it's your models and not just something you found on the internet and are trying to trick us. Because we're not very tech savvy, so it'll probably
Write down
work.
your Discord and the date on a piece of paper. That works just fine.
Yep. And speaking of the prizes, all our prizes are funded by Kaiju Gaming Lounge in Orlando. Dan, if you want to take it away, because they are your local people.
Yeah, Kaiju Gaming Lounge is run partially by good friend Carl Rohr on the channel. We've had him before doing our Slaves Darkness review. He's a big Chaos player, and even though we're Sigmarites here, we are all about Sigmar on this channel. Carl has been gracious to us and helped us out. He sponsors all of our painting contests and has a discount code if you use discount code Stormkeep. They do international shipping. You do have to DM Carl if you're gonna. He's in our Discord. If you literally just type in Kaiju Gaming Lounge, he'll come up on our Discord, and he'll be able to do international shipping. But yeah, they do obviously all GW products. Shatterpoint's really cool. They do a couple different games, and most importantly, they do our custom gaming tools. So you can see here in our picture, we've got the cool 7-inch Deep Strike sticks. We've got those. He does different ones. Like I've got in preparation, for 40K 10th edition, I've got my cool Tau 40K widget. So he's got a couple different ones. But our 7-inch, 9-inch Deep Strike sticks work really cool because they work for different armies. They work for Beasts of Chaos. They work for Stormcast and Seraphon. Newest release. So we got our sticks. They can come in a unpainted version like this one right here. What you do is you spray paint this. I haven't done this one. You can just spray paint. You can use your model paint. You can use whatever paint you want on this. Peel this sticker off, and boom, it's your own colors that you want. You can get them in whatever color. This one happens to be blue. Or you can get them pre-done like the ones in the picture in our classic gold, which looks really classy. And I think we have a couple dice still left.
Like I think maybe 2 packs. There's not much.
2 packs, yeah.
We're once these ones are gone, we're gonna look at doing another run of dice.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that.
Yeah, they're cool. They've got they've got the cool little Stormkeep logo only on the 6. So really cool dice. They roll really well, I think.
I'm never gonna live that down.
Yeah. Never, anyways. But yeah, check them out. They do great stuff, and yeah, we love Kaiju. Check them out, please.
Yep. All right. Into the topic at hand. There's no split topics. This is just a big old stream about the General's Handbook. So let's talk about, I guess we can call it Season 3, right?
Season 3, yeah.
That's what I'm going to call it. It's easier than saying Pitch Battles 2023-24 Andtor Season of War. It's just easier, right? Sweet. So what's in the General's Handbook 2023? First off, we have the Primal Magic system, which is you sometimes get primal dice, which you can use to unbind, cast, or dispel. And what that means, you would think, at least at first glance, would be that magic armies get better and everyone else can suck it because you're not a magic army. You're not Seraphon or Lumineth or Tzeentch, so why would you bother caring about this? But I actually think it's going to be the exact opposite, where magic armies might care a little bit and they get a little bit better, but it just raises the bar across the board. The non-magic armies become a little bit better at magic, while the magic armies get only a little slightly bit better. Like, it's not a big difference. With that concept comes a new keyword. It seems like we have to have a new keyword every season now. And this time it's the Andtorian Locus. Andtorian, that's right. We'll just move forward. The Locus is any hero... Well, I guess we'll go into the details. But it comes with a couple bonus rules, like the optimal focus, where your Locus gets to cast 2 spells and unbind 2 spells per round, which is cool. There's a whole spell lore. Just for being a Locus, you can have maybe some of the best spells ever printed. They're like they came out of the Seraphon book. That's how good they are. They're incredibly powerful. And command traits, which is great for literally nobody except for Stormcast, because everybody else has competent command traits.
Or war clans.
No, if they have command traits, they'd rather have.
No.
You don't think so?
Really? No.
No.
Okay.
Not really.
All right.
A lot of their stuff is like once per battle. The artifact, sure, like Mighty Destroyer, whatever that artifact is like buffs up their rend on the Moth Prussia. I could see them taking like one of these command traits.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it.
Iron Jaws, yeah.
And then Nullstone Adornments, which is if you are not a wizard, cool. Which is I think really well done, because if it's a wizard season, what about armies that just straight up don't have wizards, right? Or if you choose to play an army that doesn't have a wizard, like you play a Stormcast list without an Incantor for some godforsaken reason, you can get access to a unique enhancement that will help you fight against wizards. That's all it's meant to do, is to help you fight against wizards. So it seems like you can choose to buff up your wizards, or you can choose to...
Yeah, my cat's doing the thing too.
Or you can choose to, in theory at least, be anti-wizard. And one sec, she wants out.
Yeah, so you can be anti-wizard. These are actually really well designed. We're going to get into them in just shortly, but just as an overview, Nullstone Adornments are some of the best designed, like, pseudo artifacts. You get them in place of, or you don't get them, but you get them alongside your artifacts, which is cool. And you get 2 new battalions this season, which are also very cool. They, one of them is more niche than the other. I think that
they're both
we'll get
very
into it,
good,
but they're both pretty good.
Yeah.
They definitely favor a certain style, and we'll get into why and the drops and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the most exciting part is the endless spell updates, because I love endless spells. They are the coolest thing in Age of Sigmar, to have like actual models for your spells, go around messing stuff up. It adds like a whole other element to the game. It adds a whole bunch of calculations you need to do with dispelling and with moving in the hero phase. It's like double turn protection. I love endless spells. They're awesome.
Yeah,
but most of them have been
update
bad for a while.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is a really cool update though. I'm actually surprised at some of the changes they made. I'm surprised that they got it right for once for some of them.
It's really close to being like perfect across the board.
Like S tier. Like this is the best endless spell package I think they've ever put out.
We'll see about the points.
As far as like overall balance, obviously. Obviously just looking at just the Warscrolls, right?
Yeah.
We don't have the points. We don't,
Points could totally ruin it, but the rules look a lot better. That's for sure. And then there's 12 new battle plans, of which I think 7 are pretty good. The rest,
it's closer to 8, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, it kind of depends.
Tournament ready.
It seems like they get worse as you keep reading through the book. Every single then each battle plan is worse. Like you flip the page and this is just a little bit worse. Until you get to the very end, you're like, what the hell were they thinking? This is just unplayable.
Well, I mean,
lots of gimmicks.
Does it start with Flux? We'll get there. I think it starts with Flux, but anyway.
Yeah. So what's not in the General's Handbook, and what we will not be covering on the stream today, unfortunately. First off, Galatian Veterans is gone, seemingly. We don't know if there's going to be an errata that puts it back into the game, which would make sense because everybody loves fighting in 2 ranks. It just seems to be a thing that the game should have. But that's not in the General's Handbook. There's no way to gain access to this ability until we see the battle scroll. We don't know. So we're just going to talk about this stuff assuming that Galatian Veterans is completely gone. Same with Key to Victory. We have no idea if there's any kind of hero shooting protection aside from Lookout Sir giving you -1 hit and bodyguards and things like that.
That's the bigger thing because since that was added, that key to victory thing was added, we've seen the addition of a lot of efficient shooters in the game. So with Galatian Champion Protection gone, hero sniping is back on the table with like Paragon Overlords, Blizzard spam, even like something in Seraphon. So that could be a problem.
On the other hand, all of those armies really like having support heroes on the table. Like Caradron without the Admiral, if he doesn't get his once per game ability off, if you can snipe the Chemist, that army just doesn't do damage. It just bounces off, 3-up saves.
It will bounce off any saves.
It doesn't even have an ability because they use the Admiral for the I'm gonna fly high, deploy down.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you kill the Admiral, that army starts to fall apart. So it cuts both ways.
Except shoot the heroes. It's back.
The two armies that care the least, I'd say, are like Stormcast and I can't pick a second one. Stormcast just cares so little about their heroes. They exist for one turn, and that's all you need them for.
We had one ability that we use it for.
Yeah, maybe Stormcast and maybe like I can't even really think.
Cares, Tzeentch cares. There's a couple. I don't know.
It's like maybe like some order army, but
Magakin didn't care too much.
Doesn't have anything going for it right now.
Well, that's fair. Anyways.
Yikes. So yeah, that stuff's not in the General's Handbook. We're assuming it's just removed from the game and it's not coming back until we see otherwise. Point changes are not in the General's Handbook. They used to be included as a separate booklet. It seems like they're just digital now because they are not part of the General's Handbook physical release, which is good. They should do more stuff that's all digital. That's good. Because, personally, I'm not going to buy this book because I know they're going to errata it and it's going to be a useless paper product because there's going to be some amount of errata and it's invalidated probably within a week of it being released. Probably because the last couple battle plans are just straight up broken. But yeah, more digital stuff is great. I hope they keep doing that. Free point changes are good for the game. And the last thing that's not in this book is the errata, of course. And that's never part of the General's Handbook. It's just released alongside it. Usually whenever there's a big update to the game, that's when they'll compile a whole bunch of errata that they've been saving up over a few months and just drop them all at once. They did shoot their load a little bit early with the Soul Blight and OBR. Those were contentious changes. Harvester, rest in peace. Maybe it'll go down to like 140 points. Who knows?
It's more than that. It mucks up the internal balance of that book. Mm-hmm. Really, really use it towards like the bigger dudes on 50.
It does, but I think people are going to go start spamming Mortek Guard. Despite the Harvester change, I think people are going to spam Mortek Guard when they realize just how much damage that army does with Mortek Guard. Crazy.
Sure. I could see it. I mean, I will say though, like given just a pre-look, Null Myriad looks really good this season.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just a little bit. Just a bit.
Very much so. All right, so let's start with the realm rules for Andtor, the Bitter Land. So we're playing in a realm of frost, and that's the extent of the lore that I read before I started reading the rules instead. I think last season had caves or something. I don't know. We got frost now.
Yep.
So the major gimmick is Primal Magic. It's an extra dice you can get that can be added to casting, unbinding, and dispelling, and it's done after the initial roll. So like, you roll a 6, and you need +1 in order to make a spell cast. Well, okay, I can add a primal dice, and I can roll an extra dice. Great. I love that. It puts the control in the player's hand. It doesn't make this random nonsense like, do I want to all-out attack before I roll any dice? Do I want to all-out defense before they roll any dice? Putting more agency in the player's hands is a good thing. Not too much. It is still a dice game, and you got to express player skill in that way. But I think with this, because of the risks and rewards that are included in it, you really don't want to be having to do this ahead of time. So that's good.
Something we don't have quite mentioned here that I'm looking at now. One of the reasons we talked about why this Primal Magic system benefits non magic focused armies, or just armies that don't even normally take wizards but have good unbinds, like Khorne and even us for some things, or cities when you're taking a Rune Lord. You see the person that's casting with primal dice use their primal dice first, and you can then react to it, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a couple other things. There's a couple other things that we'll talk about, like the miscast and the double sixes that can be a downside, even the double sixes. But the timing on this actually really benefits you unbinding, because if it's a spell that you're like, they think, I need to get this spell off, but you're not really worried about it for one reason or another. you'll just let it go and you'll unbind something else that you're more scared of, for example,
Mhm.
at the moment, or just, that they're going to blow their load on this spell, right? So it puts a lot of control in the dispeller's hands, which is really cool about this. That, and it doesn't have any downsides. Just use it as dispelling.
Yes.
What I really like is you can wait to see what your dispel roll is before committing a primal dice to it.
And
Like if
that's
they
the other
roll like I don't know a 12 on unbind, and you roll a 5 on your 2d6, you're like, well, I'm not gonna bother spending my primal dice on the unbind, but I could if I roll like a 9, I'm like, yeah, sure, now I'm likely to commit one.
Oh yeah, this is really cool, and I really like how much this levels out the playing field for some armies.
Yeah, so
even if you see like a bonus to cast, right? Like if you've got, a Slan with a +3 and they roll a 5 and they're only at an 8, and you roll and you've got a 6, you're probably going to add a primal dice and get that taken care of.
Now, Caleb, what's your first impression as a Seraphon player? What do you think about this?
It is an interesting mini game. I've rolled out a bunch of hero phase games here at home. Just not playing through the whole game. We're just doing hero phases right now, just getting used to this stuff. And you do kind of tip your hand on what your priority spell is. Like, this is the spell I really want off. I'm using my primal dice for this. It adds some strategy, a little bit more strategy into how you're gonna cast your orders. You're gonna cast it because you don't want to accidentally mess yourself up with either double 1s or double 6s. But you want to talk about that?
Yeah, let's explain that real quick. I feel like we're jumping the gun a bit. Okay,
sure. A little bit. Yeah.
A little bit of rule talk here. So how you get primal dice is at the start of each hero phase, both players roll a dice, and for each 4-up that's rolled, each player gets a primal dice. So you either get 0, 1, or 2 primal dice. Usually 1, but sometimes 0, sometimes 2. And any unit can use the primal dice. It's not just the Locus. So you could, for example, have Croak add a d6 into his casting roll if he really wants to, which sounds terrifying. Now, this is used instead of re-rolling, so you can't, for example, use Master Magic as a command trait or the cogs, even if spoiler, the cogs were changed, they don't re-roll spells anymore. But you can't use Master Magic, you can't use other re-roll effects, which is good. That's good, like, power control. If you roll double 1s when you use your primal dice, you suffer what's called a primal miscast, or what I'm going to call a super miscast, which is instead of D3, it's D3 plus 3, and then every unit within 3 inches also takes D3. So like it's like you're playing against Khorne and they have the Hexgorger skulls and everything explodes. You do that to yourself now, which in most armies is a bad thing, but I think in Tzeentch it's going to be a very good thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. When you roll double 6s, on the other hand, you automatically succeed. The spell can't be unbound. You still can't cast any more spells. So, like, if you roll double 6s with the primal dice on Croak, that's worse than just not rolling double 6s, because now you can't cast any more spells that phase, which is really bad. And both players gain a primal dice. So not only do you lock your own wizard out of casting any more spells that turn, you've given your opponent another unbind. So your next wizard that casts the spell has a 3d6 unbind, which is rough. Okay, so that's all the rules stuff out of the way. My first impression was just like everybody else's. Magic armies are going to dominate. Everybody else go home. Don't bother playing unless you have, 6 spells all cast at +2 with a reroll. Like, don't bother. It's actually going to be the opposite. Because...
Well, a little bit. Not too hard.
Because... Let me explain my thought process, and you guys can check it to see where I'm wrong here. If everybody previously was casting at 2d6, and some armies were casting 2d6 plus 3 with a reroll, let's just make up some super giga Chad caster, right?
Sure.
The difference between that, the average cast and the average unbind, was massive, right? It was like an 11 versus a 7. The odds of you unbinding were so low. But now if everybody has plus d6 to that roll, you've taken it from maybe a 1 in 4 at best chance to unbind into like a 1 in 2. So you've doubled the success chance of unbinding, because 3d6 plus 3 versus 3d6 is it's very different, right? The power difference was like this before, and now it's more like that. It's still favored, right? Magic armies are still going to magic harder, but other players have a chance. And the second thing is, because of the way that ordering works, and because casting still favors, like, ties still go to the person casting, right? What's going to happen is magic armies, they only get 1 or 2 of these dice, maybe 3 max per turn, right? The spells they want to cast, they were going to cast before anyway. You weren't really doing anything to stop them. And this doesn't add any power to the spells. It just makes it more reliable.
Well, most spells right now.
Most spells, correct. We'll talk about that later.
We'll get into the alright.
The thing is, it just increases consistency. It doesn't increase power. The spells aren't doing any more damage. The buffs aren't getting any stronger. If anything, buff spells are getting weaker because we seem to have lost Galatian veterans, so there's not as much like big infantry blocks to put these huge spells on. And especially, Flesh Eater Courts are getting new Warscrolls, so like a lot of these buff spells are just way less potent than they used to be. So the armies that do magic really well are losing safety from every... Okay, sorry, let me explain this better. You're going to cast like your 1 or 2 key spells with Primal Dice, and your opponent will know which spells those are going to be if they're competent. And they're going to know that, okay, I'm not going to bother. You're going to use your Primal Dice here? Fine. Your next 3 spells, those are the ones I'm going to use Primal Dice on. Right? So the key spells are going to stay pretty much as consistent as they are now. But every other spell that these magic armies are doing is now at bigger risk of failing. So yes, Croak will cast Celestial Deliverance once. Very well. The next 3 casts are going to be worse than they are today, because you will have a 3d6 Unbind available for them. Does that make sense?
As you have more spells that you rely on to have your army tick, like Lumineth, for example, that's where this starts to come in, right? If you're going to have to let one thing go, you're going to have to let the ward go, you're going to have to let... crap, I can't think of what the Power of Hish go, right?
Power of Hish total eclipse. But the thing is, you now got to say, I'm going to take the punishment from 2 spells, but I'm going to make sure your other 2 don't go off.
Yeah. Even worse, this punishes a lot of autocasts that autocast on certain values, right? If you're... I'm sorry, Lumineth, I'm going to keep hitting on you here, but you have a lot of autocasting, right? Techless.
Sure.
Autocasting on a 10, that's not as strong as it used to be now.
Yeah.
You can really get in there and mess up total eclipse. You can mess up, protection of Techless, right? You can mess up all these spells. And, the more spells that you rely on, the more that an enemy army can actually take advantage of that and unbind you, which is really cool. So it punishes volume a lot more of spells.
And I found that the... Oh, go ahead.
No, Caleb, I want to hear what you have.
Go, Caleb.
I was going to say, from my perspective, I play, obviously, mostly Seraphon. This, I feel 1/3 of the times on my cast, I'm going to have either a 1 or a 6 on those dice, right? And I don't want to cast... use a Primal Dice on those because it's too risky for my plan. Either I'm miscasting or I'm doing whatever the other thing's called where you get 2 6s.
Multicasters don't actually like the double
kills
6.
it too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting point. So I agree with what Paul largely said about, you can take the punishment from 2 spells and then really punish those other 2 spells that, they still want to have go off, but now you have a say whether they go off. My issue isn't in like these 7 spell armies versus the 2 unbind armies or 3 unbind armies. My issue is something like Legion of Blood that has 2 spells that it wants to go off.
Oh yes,
right.
This
This favors that.
This favors
doing that +2. And my concern is that you mentioned how the ceiling and the floor, or like whatever, between like a +3 to cast or a +2 to cast and a +none to unbind is. And I think that only matters if the casting value is low. So let me explain this better. So like if your casting value is average, like let's say a 7, and you have a +2, that's a 9. They're not going to unbind that. If your casting value is high, like an 11, they're not going to unbind that either. But if your casting value is like a 5 or like a 4, and you needed that to go off, a +2 helps helps that spell go off. Like let's say your casting value becomes an 8 because of a +2. They still have to roll a 9, and that wasn't very unlikely either. But now you can supplement that with a Primal Dice, which sort of like increases that floor for them. So it's not really likely either.
So magic spam armies look worse. First off, because you might just you might cast too hard, and all of a sudden your Slan is doing 1 spell per turn, which is the worst possible thing that could happen. And if you're not using Primal Dice, your opponent knows that, so they have an easier chance to unbind. So this does feel like an anti-magic season, but not as hard as Bounty Hunters was an anti-infantry season. It's more like they're flattening the power curve between good casting armies and bad casting armies. So if you were an army that cast 2 spells a turn, you look much better off. Just in terms of casting power, you are looking way better off than you were before. So that's Stormcast, that's Soul Blight, that's Orcs, that's Night Haunt. They look better. They look better though. Yeah. No doubt.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Just like So yeah, it's actually the fear was that the magic armies were going to dominate, but it's actually everybody's been given tools to deal with the magic armies.
Yeah. And it's people who only rely on like 1 or 2 casts that are actually going to feel better, like you've been talking about, like with Soul Blight. It's only the Stormcast armies that are going to feel the biggest like upgrade. And then obviously, if you're an army that wants to unbind, you're going to get a big upgrade. And if you're already a magic army, you're still going to get a boost, but it's not nearly, the delta is not as big.
Yeah, it comes with a bigger opportunity cost for you than it does for those 2 or 3 caster armies.
And I love that about this design. This is like the first time that I've seen Magic get like a real balancing factor.
Can you imagine a chaos like Sorcerer Lord doing drawing
and,
chaos and rolling ones and taking 2 miscasts to the face?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like how, even though you do like, so this favors like more 1 or 2 cast armies that really rely on big effects. This still also favors the third thing in the meta, auto dispels. Auto dispels didn't like to go up against volume, right? You didn't want to be up against a lot of volume because you had to make tough choices. This really helps you out, right? If I have a Knight Incantor, if I'm playing Khorne, I'm going to feel really, really good about this because those spells, now I'm going to have this on top of what I already have. And if I'm going against an army that does take advantage of this, that only has a couple spells that they need to go off, I'm still going to feel really good against them. I think that's one of the biggest buffs right now, is the fact that like Stormcast, Khorne, who else has auto dispels?
Lumineth does via Techless.
Yeah, Techless.
Techless
we talked about Techless. Yeah.
But
so there's a couple, I'm sure there's some that I'm missing. I do apologize to those factions.
Yeah, I think you can tell that, this is kind of designed towards, if you've got a high cast spell that does something very unique, it would be very good. Almost like they might give us one of those in this General's Handbook.
Oh yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, we should. Locus. We'll talk about it.
I would like to formally commend GW for accomplishing a good tweak to Magic that is sold. It's a nerf to Magic armies. I think that's what's going to happen. Could be wrong.
Barely,
but it's being sold as a bonus for Wizards, and I think that's awesome.
No, because this feels good. Rolling more dice feels good.
Yes.
And this is and I was a little worried when I first saw this. I'm like, this might like interrupt the flow of the game a little bit. You know how like Slanesh Temptation is like one of the most awkward things. Like, hang on, right? This one doesn't really feel that bad. It feels more natural to use. I think. I don't know if Caleb, you said you've tried this a couple times. I think this is a little more natural to use, right? Like this is not as a slowdown on the game than some of these other effects.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun rolling these primal dice and that kind of mini battle versus you and the other player is kind of fun. Seeing what your primal dice are going to do, and we've actually had quite a few of the double sixes go off, and then it kind of ends that mini battle right there, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like this. This is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then looking at the Andtorian Locus, any wizard hero that has less than 10 wounds is not unique, gains Andtorian Locus. So it's like a champion. You can be mounted, but you can't have unique, which is okay. We played with champions. This shouldn't be too hard of a concept for people to wrap their heads around. The ability that all Locus gain access to is that it's called Optimal Focus, or Locus Focus, as I'm going to call it. If you're going second in the round, one Locus in your army can cast and unbind one additional spell that round. Or if it's not a wizard, you can just gain a command point. So this is, I think people are really sleeping on that second part. More command points. You can just get more command points, which is awesome.
Yep. If you're not a wizard, that's so cool.
Yep. But also, extra spells and extra unbinds is very, very good. Going second was already a benefit in the first round, but going second in most other rounds usually came at a risk, right? And this makes it a less of a risk, let's say, if you build properly. But there's all kinds of stuff you can do with this. Like Slan can, with Lord of Celestial Resonance command trait, they can just generate way more celestial command points, celestial cosmic power points, right?
Yep, there you go.
The other CP.
Especially with the new cogs, you can have a Slan casting 5 spells a turn, which is wild. He alone is generating 10 summoning points every single round, and that's an army that can play second very comfortably. They would very much prefer that. Extra unbinds out of unbinding range, extra unbinds even on like a unit like a Knight Incantor. Having a second unbind is really good because people will try to bait out the Voidstorm Scroll, right? They'll cast all their spells that are in range of that Incantor in particular and be like, well, if you don't unbind these, then you don't get an unbind this phase. But now you can have a second one. So again, flattening out the curve between the cast 8 spells per turn armies and the cast 1 or 2 spells per turn armies. Well, now you're casting 3 instead of 2. So it's a bit closer. Yeah, there's also 2 core battalions. I don't think anybody expected these. These are not at all what we would usually get. First one here is called the Andtorian Acolytes. This actually requires champions, not Locus, which is weird. Champions don't exist formally, so it's kind of weird.
Oh, as in like no mount foot.
Yeah, they're defined in this little sidebar that lets you know what you can put in, like what each symbol means on the battalions. And that's why. Yeah,
and it specifies no mounts. So Lord Arcanums on any mount can't go in this. It has to be a foot wizard that's not unique.
Not all Locus, they're not wearing pink today.
However,
they don't get to sit with us.
However, the battalion requires having Locus in it because what its effect is at the start of each... Pretty much. Yeah. At the start of each turn, if you have 2 or more Locus from this battalion on the battlefield is a very specific restriction. On a 3+, you gain a primal dice. And there's a little typo there. Ignore that. Yeah, you gain a primal dice, which is a big deal because you're either going to get 0, 1, or 2, and you will always get the same amount of primal dice that your opponent gets. Unless you have this battalion. This battalion allows you to get 1 more primal dice than your opponent, potentially. It allows you to cast 2 spells instead of just 1 at 3d6 on average. If both players get 0 primal dice, you have a chance to get a primal dice and make sure that combo spell you have, like let's say you're playing Storm Coven. I know I've been talking about that a lot lately. But let's say you're playing the Storm Coven and you want that cast value 8 spell to go off. You need a primal dice, right? Your list has to get it. So you will take this battalion to make sure you get it. Yeah. And just in general, having a primal dice is good. Yep. Casting, unbinding, for both purposes, it is good to have a primal dice. Don't know how many armies are going to take this, but I think Stormcast and Seraphon will.
This looks pretty good for us.
Is it strong enough to make you want to go 3-drop with? I guess
I think so.
In general, with like regiment and listing.
I'm not doing battle regiment this season.
Well, I never do almost.
So for me, the trade-off is not battle regiment. The trade-off is warlord, because if I have to, if I have to stick 2 of my sub-commanders in here, they're not going into warlord. That means I'm running. Am I running both? Am I bringing 5 heroes? I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, famously, like Stormcast enhancements. How are we going to pass those up? Like, what are we going to do?
Hey, I like Call for Aid.
Yeah, Call for Aid is very good when you're running Thunderbolt Volley. One thing to note too, I think we missed that in the previous one. I don't know if we said it. Primal dice don't expire at the end of the turn; they expire at the end of the round, so you can bank them. So this gains even more value, as if you bank them, if the opponent is a little further away, and you move up closer, you don't really do anything with your points. You're not really trying to cast, right? You have an incanter, you're Stormcast, you're made to go first. You move up, they cast. Right now, you have more dice available to unbind them rather than use it for your spells.
That's true.
There are a lot of incentives to go second in this GHB.
Funnily enough, right? GW hasn't caught on to that. And one thing I was going to mention with the whole optimal focus thing, I hope that they finally adopt a wording that says, you can't get this in the first battle round or something. At least that.
I would prefer if Battle Regiment 1-drop. I would prefer if stealing the initiative didn't exist.
Well, that's a whole.
That's a different discussion.
Thing. Yeah. But in this context, right, like this little fix.
Yeah, if any of these are good enough to, because I mean, obviously I think over here we're pretty much solid warlord takers, but Battle Regiment is by far the most popular battalion choice.
It is.
And is this enough to displace that or change that? Maybe. Well, we'll see.
This on its own is not, but the next one is actually a lot better than you think. So the Wizard Finders of Andtor. Yeah. This requires minimum 1 champion. And then you can also slot in 1 to 2 infantry, and then you have an optional monster slot as well. And what this gives you is when this unit fights, and this is in any phase, when you get picked to fight, you get +1 attack with 1 melee weapon when you're fighting a wizard keyword unit. And the first thought when seeing this is, why do I care how much melee damage I'm going to do to that 5-wound wizard? It's going to die anyway. Bonus attacks against that wizard are useless. But it's not... First off, it's not wizard hero. So it's any wizard unit. So if you're fighting Evocators, if you're fighting probably Sentinels, we'll have to see how the rule breakdown on that shakes out. Probably not, but we'll see. But basically,
it does say wizard unit on the text.
But you know what? You know what has wizard? Zombie, Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, Arcan, Neferata, anything with an arcane tome like Maw Crushes usually have an arcane tome. Any foot hero allows you to just more effectively split your attacks. There is so many wizards in this game that you can just get bonus attacks against all the time.
It's just melee wizard. I thought it said unit. My bad. It says units Warscroll. It is just an enemy wizard, but still, like, weirdness on that.
I'm not sold on this still, because I know what you're saying, but that is such a limited field compared to.
It's pretty limited.
But think of the opportunity cost. It's almost 0. Because if you're running a list with 4 heroes, you will take a warlord. That's 3 of them. That leaves 1 hero left. Where are you going to put them? Vanguard? Who cares?
In a battle regiment.
No, who cares? Just go tons of drops, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you're going to end up using this. And if the game is dominated by Soul Blight, or if it's dominated by OBR, you can just get extra attacks on units.
I might take the Andtorian Acolytes with like 3 heroes, because then I'm like, okay, I'm not getting Warlords, so I might as well just take this one.
I think Grand Hammers with +1 attack should be very much considered against Vampire Lord. You drop in on him, you'll kill him through that Ethereal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is if you're already going to run more drops, this is just icing on the cake. I don't think this makes me run more drops. I think Andtorian Acolytes is strong enough to make me want to run more drops, but Wizard Finders is not. Wizard Finders is I'm already taking Acolytes or Warlord, I might as well, right? That's where I'm at with this. It's not it's just not as strong as Andtorian Acolytes is.
Depending on what the meta shakes out being, I can really see this getting a lot of value. Gargants have real battle tactics they can do now, and Gargants use Arcane Tome. So +1 attack against Gargants.
Yeah, it can matter.
Right. Mock Crushes are using Arcane Tome. Most armies still use Arcane Tome, or have just plenty of wizards that you can punch.
Because you can still be a Locus with Arcane Tome.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing... You just can't take the lore because of Arcane Tome's thing, but, you know... Well, okay, hang on. Whoa, hang on. You still can't take the lore enhancement. Yeah. That's the... Anyways.
Take it all.
Going on. That's for next video.
Yeah. Okay, so I think these battalions, I wasn't really impressed with them the first time I saw them. They're not flashy. They're not super exciting like Bounty Hunters. They don't fix a core problem with the game like Galatian Veterans, or just counter seasonal rules like Galatian Sharpshooters. But they are good. I think they are good.
Cool.
If you have a spell in your list that you really want to get off, you're going to take Andtorian Acolytes to make sure you try your best to get a Primal Dice, right? If you're going Warlord, it's very easy to take a Wizard Finders on top of that, and that really helps against some matchups. So I think they'll see play.
Side talk here with these new battalions, and I don't know if Caleb, as an outside person, because we've talked a lot about like adding battalions to the actual core. What do you think about like something like Wizard Finders and like Galatian Vets being like in the core book? Do you think that would shake up the meta a ton?
Wizard Finders probably not.
Like being like something that you always have.
Yeah, I would love to see Galatian Veterans in the core rules, because that makes I don't want to have to change all my Source Warriors with clubs over to Source Warriors with spears. So please let me use the models I already have. But Galatian Veterans was so nice to have. It just made the game easier, more fun. Your models got to attack, opened up some hordes to some fun stuff.
It feels weird not to have it this season, like looking at these 2 core battalions.
Yeah.
I'm with Paul's theory that they're all testing some keyword. Like, you know how 10th edition just got a bunch of like keyword-based stuff? I think they're testing out keywords, champions, veterans, and and like we'll see these applied
4.0 light, right? The beta.
Rank fighting or whatever. But I feel bad for some armies that were like if you were a Khorne player who liked Blood Warrior spam, or like running, I don't know, 30-40 Blood Warriors, you're gonna have a bad time. Yeah, Nighthawns are gonna have a really bad time with Blade Geists not even being playable right now. So yeah.
I think the Wizard Finders is gonna surprise people which lists run it. Like, do Blade Lords get more perfect strikes if they have more attacks? I think they do. I think it's like Unleash Thy Hatred on Star Souls.
I don't think you're going to see that list, Paul. I think Lumineth is just very much like DOK is. I mean, obviously, points changes can obviously change literally everything. But the way DOK is, I think Lumineth's in the same boat. They just got to go Sentinels, Techless Castle, Huracan Wind Chargers.
Techless is gone. He's dead. People unbinding him on 3d6.
I don't know, but
if Techless is casting 1 or 2 spells a turn, you shouldn't use Techless.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, right, because he can't use Primal Dice.
Correct. Right. But people can unbind him at 3d6 all the time.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oof, I forgot about that.
Yes, so Teclis is dead.
Yeah.
Unless he drops like 100 points. So, but yeah, I think Wizard Finder is good. Even if it only worked against Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, I would take it.
Yeah, I think you might see it in some lists where they're purposefully hunting wizards. They don't take any themselves. They're taking the grand strategy, which we'll talk about later, where they're trying to kill wizards.
The Nullstone Adornments. Oh man, can't wait to get into those.
They have units that can like get around the board, can deep strike, can go after those wizards. You might see something there where they're teched into that, while everybody else is bringing all the wizards. They're killing them all.
Mm-hmm. Picture Squigs. Squig Herd versus Vampire Lord. He's just dead. 10 Squig Herd hit Arcan. Arcan's dead. It's a good battalion.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, moving on. The lore of Primal Frost. So this can only be learned by Locus. These spells are ridiculous, man.
These spells are cool.
First up is Hoarfrost. Please don't censor us for that, YouTube. I know that you have things looking for certain words. The spell is hard to cast. It's an 8, and it has a short range of 12. And this is the spell they used to show off Primal Magic, and this made everybody lose their minds for like 2 weeks before the leaks came out and showed us everything in context. What this spell does is you have to change the characteristic of a weapon, one melee weapon in one unit. So if you have a cavalry unit, let's say Dracolines, you can't change both the rider attacks and the mounts. You can only pick one weapon. But you can change either the hit, the wound, or the rend to a value that you roll on a d3. So you roll a d3, let's say you roll a 1. You can change the hit, wound, or rend to 1, which means you hit on 1s, you wound on 1s, or you have rend 1. If you roll a 2, you can hit on 2s, wound on 2s, or have rend 2. And if you roll a 3, you can hit on 3s, wound on 3s, or have rend 3. And that's the spiciest one, right? Is like rend 3 on any unit, potentially.
You get rend 3, you get rend 3, you get rend 3, you get rend 3.
Honestly, like even the hit and wounds, probably mostly the wounds, can also be very. I just love that this spell is good no matter what you roll on certain units. Like you're gonna bring this for certain units. I know I've seen people talk a lot about like giant rats or something. Like I've seen a lot of Skaven players get super excited about volume of attack madness, and that's what this is. This is a volume of attack spell.
Flesh Eater Courts are still a reroll hit.
Flesh Eater Courts.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore. Actually, yeah, ghouls at least are.
Wait, what?
They lost their rerolls, bro.
Yeah, that was in the leaks for Harbingers.
Oh
yeah.
Wow. Oh, so they got
yeah.
Oh damn. Okay.
There's new
they got something else. They got auto wounding
and
5
flayers
and 6.
And for horrors, they all got new Warscrolls.
I mean, so I will say, like, yes, like given what we just talked about for the last 20 minutes, like with the unbinds and whatever, fine. Like I get your point. This is going to be a very, very impactful spell. I can't see any army not taking this that has access to it.
Well, I'll push back on that.
No, yeah. It doesn't really work well with some units.
The crux of my argument is Mindrazor was one of the best spells as an offensive buff in this game for like the longest time. Like Daughters of Cain does not have any reliable casters, and they still try to like game that 8.
But there's a reason Mindrazor is that good.
Yeah,
and that reason's not
the same
here.
Effect.
Nope, Mindrazor's better. Mindrazor increases the damage. This just increases accuracy.
No, Mindrazor increases the rend, and on a charge, it increases damage.
Exactly.
Well, but that's. I mean, you're going to be charging, right? Like, let's be real.
What I'm saying is like, so Mindrazor has been balanced around what that army can do, right? And like, realistically, whether that army can even.
Yeah.
What I mean is like, this spell has the potential to just have like an insane force multiplier on things that are like just mass chaff. Like when I think what I am thinking of off the top of my head is like 30 Soulblight skeletons, you know, a bunch of Skaven clan rats or like Stormvermin or something.
Yeah, like it can, but like the thing is, you have to use this on very specific units. You have to use this on units with high volume. High volume is really like the main thing is volume with this spell.
Yes and no.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I'm saying it's
high volume is going to be the best scaling, like the one you're going to use it on the most.
Yeah, but so in that terms, like, what do you guys think? Like, and I'll start with, I guess, Caleb. Like, what do you think of like a spell that's like, it effectively fixes how that unit might be balanced based on what you roll?
I love this because it's such a useful spell. I can use it no matter what I roll as a result. I can use it. It's gonna either save me a all-out attack, or it's gonna buff my wounds, or I'm getting red. I love this spell. I look at every unit and I go, I want to cast this on everything. Obviously, you can only pick one. But
Warriors are gonna be lit.
Skinks.
Oh, absolutely.
The answer is skinks.
It
may not seem like it.
I wish I could still buff
one melee
as
attack?
many attacks as they used to have.
No, they
That
have
would
2
have been
melee
so much fun.
attacks now on 4s and 4s.
Yeah.
And poison.
And
Yeah, it's a fantastic spell. I mean, that's the one I think you're going to see the most often.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. If you're taking a spell, I think this is the one you're going to see almost every time.
Yeah, that's worth really being explicit about, is that you have to give up learning another spell from your normal spell list in order to get this. And you
have
probably
to be able to have an enhancement.
Yeah, you're probably dedicating your primal dice to casting it as well, because it's an 8. So that's a lot of cost. And then you have to pick very specific units to put this on. So they have to be units that are like, they have, let's say of the 3, hit, wound, rend, they have 2 of those are good, and then 1 of them is bad. So let's say best case scenario, you have something that's like hits on 4s, wounds on 2s, rend 2 or rend 3 already. So that no matter what you roll, if you roll a 1 or 2, you give it bonus to hit, and if you roll a 3, you pump up the rend even further, right? No matter what you roll, it's a good result.
Well, it's not bonus to rend, it's just changing the rend. So you're like rend 1 or 2.
Yeah, so you're either rend 3 or you're hit 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Right? So in that hypothetical unit. But this unit also has to be something worth buffing, right? Because if you just put it on, I don't know, 3 Croxagors, that's not really good. That's not a good use of spells in general. So it has to be a reinforced unit, generally, I would say. And it also has to be a unit that can fight it while reinforced, which without Galatian veterans, there's not a lot of those. Cavalry has split weapon profiles. There's very few fast cavalry units that can hit hard enough that do it all with a single weapon. And this only buffs the one weapon. So like even if you put this on Dracolines, you could put it on the stabs to give 2 of the 3 models bonuses to rend, or you can put it on the mount attacks to give all 3 models. But it's like
you get to see the result before, though.
Yes, so you do. You get to pick. But I'm saying is like picking the actual right unit for this.
The weapon first. My bad.
Yeah, you pick the weapon, then you roll, and then you pick the stat. Yeah. So it's and like let's say you have a unit that's like, well, it's already going to be on 2s and 2s, like Fulminators, 2s, rend 2. Do you take Hoarfrost for a unit like Fulminators just for the chance of rolling a 3 on that D3 in order to get him to rend 3? No,
probably not. No,
that's not a good spell, right? Because it's random. Like you could take Ghouls, for example, and it's like, okay, I want them to be at rend. It doesn't matter what I roll because I'm just going to apply it to rend. And now they're on 4s, rend D3, always. But then if you pick a unit that's already rend 1 and is on like, so let's say you have 3s, rend 1, you roll a 1. Okay, cool. You get +1 to wound or +1 hit. That's not a great spell. You use primal dice to cast it, and it's not a great result. So it's very, very specific, and it's almost like a list building.
Yeah. I'll raise you though. On Fulminators, I think I might still take this over Celestial Blades, because at worst, it's Celestial Blades. At best, you get rend 3, or you can hit or wound on 1s, or 2s. It still matters, because we're in
it's good
debuff hammer meta.
But it's,
right?
I think it's primal dice for the turn, right?
It is a primal dice for the turn.
That's
that is
a big cost.
Yep. 100%.
And it's a spell.
I agree.
Your first spell, Stormcast, should be Mystic Shield. So that's another spell you're casting.
Well, yeah, 100%. But I'm going to be taking a Tome User alongside my Incanter, for sure.
It's a phenomenal spell. It's just not going to be in every list, and it's not going to be on every unit.
No.
And honestly, I don't know if this is the best use of Primal Dice. I feel like people are going to find better uses for it. So
for some armies, I think this is.
For specific lists, like I'm going to build a list that has 9 Croxagors hitting on 1s with wounding on 2s and rend 2. Yeah, I'm going to do that. But that's not every list. Like you can build lists around Hoarfrost, and that's the coolest part about it. I haven't been so excited about a spell that you build your whole list around before.
I mean, one of the things though is when you build your list around a spell like this, if you don't get it off, the unit that you're using, it has to be good enough at base to where you'd want to use it anyway. Because if you don't get this off, it's going to be really awkward because you're likely committed unit positioning.
Yeah,
unless you're an army that can choose to like teleport or to move quickly in some way that can take advantage of this. That's another thing to consider, is that it has to be a unit with the mobility or speed to take advantage of this, or to be useful even when it doesn't get the Hoarfrost. Because you're gonna get auto unbound. You're gonna have some things. You know, you're gonna hit corn sometimes and just get auto unbound every time. And then that unit, you know, if you're doing the meme and you're taking the giant rats and Skaven, and then you get unbound, those giant rats are now just giant rats.
It's very telegraphed which unit you're gonna put it on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Let's move on.
All right.
Okay,
real quick, chat says, Consti says, Hoarfrost on Stormdrake guards with Warblades. Yep, that's one of the things I'm going to be doing.
Yep.
Ren 3 on a reinforced unit.
I'll take Ren.
Or hit on
even
ones.
Ren 2. It's fine too. Or wounding on ones, or hitting on ones, depending on the situation. By the way, Ty Nomite says, Caleb, nice, just found your channel, been consuming the crap out of it. So shout out to Caleb and his channel. Yeah, it's literally just his name, Caleb Hastings. The man's such a legend. You can just search that, and he's there.
One of these days, I will have little nameplates for us on our stream. I promise. Okay, Rupture. This is gonna ruin the whole season. Cast on 10, range 8. Am I wrong? Like,
no, it's gonna be really good for some armies. Yeah.
Okay. You don't know why there's a player called Caleb Walters. If you want to know why his Tzeentch win rate was so high, it's because he basically did what this spell did in
we have a whole video on that. Please check out our video
on that, and he actually explains what he does because he's a guest on it. Go watch that if you want.
How to counter Tzeentch
for like a year. He did this at Adepticon. It ruined people.
So let's talk about why I hate this so much. Rupture, cast on a 10, range 18. So it's a very hard cast, but with primal dice, that's average, right? 3 dice, it's 10.5. So you're casting this on average, and you can reliably cast this out of unbinding range. You just deploy out of unbinding, and then you get it off. And it's pretty generous range. You can pick an endless spell or an incarnate wholly within range. I don't know why anyone would ever pick an endless spell, because the only reason you ever take the spell is because you have an incarnate in your list, and you're going to be casting it on the incarnate immediately. Top of round 1, you're going battle regiment. You're just slamming this into him as soon as possible. Because what it does is it makes the incarnate go wild, and it can't be controlled or bonded for the rest of the game. And a Kronspine that's gone wild is the worst thing in this game to play against. So let me explain why. When a Kronspine is wild, everything is an enemy. And when everything is an enemy, that means every spell cast by a wizard is an enemy wizard spell. And the Kronspine can use its monstrous action to devour an endless spell. So what you do is you cast this Rupture out of unbinding range of an opponent, so they just don't have a say in whether it happens or not. Your Kronspine is now wild. You control its movement, so it's not like it has to hit you back. Just position carefully to make sure you're not within 3 inches. Yeah, we have a whole video about how to counter the Kronspine. That's another good watch if you haven't seen it yet. You're going to see a lot of Kronspine this season, so it's a good watch. So you cast Rupture. Kronspine's wild. You cast, I don't know, any endless spell, probably a Malevolent Maelstrom.
Easy.
Maelstrom looks really good for that. You cast it forwards. You whip it as far forward as you can. You run and charge the Kronspine, because you can run and charge, but you don't charge the enemy army. You charge the endless spell, which was cast by an enemy wizard. Now you use your monstrous action to devour the spell, which, if it was a cast value of 5, you're looking for a 4 on the dice in order to eat it.
On a reroll.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what?
It rerolls too, doesn't it? The first time it... Isn't that...
Nope.
Am I thinking of something
the
else?
Jaws.
It's just a bonus, does it?
You're thinking of the Jaws moving.
Oh, the Jaws goes out. Okay,
so
that's what I'm thinking.
So on a 4-up on 2 dice, your Kronspine levels up to level 3, and you win the game, because every turn for the rest of the game, you're going to keep feeding it the Malevolent Maelstrom until your opponent just runs out of models, because they're sitting there fighting the Kronspine forever, because it can't be killed in 1 turn. And every time they hurt it, the next turn you just cast the Maelstrom, it levels up again. And this works even through an enemy double turn. So you will take an aggressive battalion battle regiment, you will cast Rupture with primal dice out of unbinding range, you will then cast whatever, probably bring 2 in the spells just for consistency, whip them up the board, tie the whole enemy army down, and with an unkillable Kronspine. Every army can do this. There is nothing stopping every single army in the game from doing this. This is the worst spell ever written.
Yeah. And assistant ref in the chat even says, like, Rupture needs an FAQ to make sure you can't cast it on a friendly spot. Kronspine, surely. Or do we really think that GW actually intended the whole ridiculous interaction? We don't know. We actually don't know.
Because Caleb's like shtick with the Kronspine was one of the most uninteractive things I've ever seen. It made that Kronspine unkillable. And it was like a death sentence, because Tzeentch just put out its spell every turn and they would just keep devouring it. I'm like, why would they take that gamey interaction that was no fun to play against and then make it available to everyone?
Guaranteed 3 turns of tie-ups, like no retreat. It's such a crazy. You have to have a teleport to get out.
The Kron Spine going wild is not a bad thing.
Nope.
It is 100% benefit. No downside, unless you just really have never used a Kron Spine before and you kill yourself. But you'll do that once.
When it goes wild. So
more damage,
the only
aura.
armies, the only armies that can handle this are debuff hammer armies, because the Kron Spine does get really messed up by debuffs. It really doesn't like debuffs, whether it's like reducing attacks or whether it's reducing hit or wound.
Well,
both can really mess it up.
Now you can Hoarfrost it,
and then you rupture it.
Oh man, that is a pretty good meme.
Yeah. So Kron Spine is one of the prizes in our July painting contest. So if you have some painted Stormdrakes and you just want to be an absolute degenerate, Rupture's there for you.
I like the Kron Spine. It's funny. It's bad for the game, but I like the model.
And also, I think we heard rumors of another incarnate on the way. So yeah, it's incarnate galore.
There is a chance that they errata the Kron Spine, right? Like,
there is totally a chance.
They probably didn't put Hoarfrost in until Galatian Veterans was gone. There's a good chance they're going to errata the Kron Spine, so that Rupture is not the most broken thing in the game. But if it stands the way it is now with no additional context, it's going to be the worst season ever. Every competitive player will have a Kron Spine in their list. You're not playing Warhammer Age of Sigmar. You're playing 1,500 points plus Kron Spine.
Yeah, I think debuff hammer armies can handle it.
What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds terrible. That sounds terrible.
It's not fun. It's just not fun. I really hope they got this. They nipped this in the bud. I hope we don't have to wait months for another Battle Scroll update. Yep. All right. Then is a super fun spell, Merciless Blizzard, casts on a 12, and it has a range of 12. Very short range, very, very, very hard cast. Hardest cast in the game. But you pick an enemy unit within range, and it suffers 4d6 mortal wounds. You just chew.
Yep. Boom.
14 mortal wounds, please. Thank you. On average.
And your first thought is spell portal this thing, right?
Yeah, it does thankfully have a restriction that you can't change the location of the caster or increase the range.
Yep.
But there's so many armies that can teleport before casting. Legion of Night, Stormcast, Seraphon,
Skaven with Skitterleap. Oh my gosh.
Skitterleap. Can Sylvaneth do it?
That's going to be a boom.
I don't think so.
Sylvaneth, I don't think have a teleport in the hero phase. No.
You teleport movement phase.
Yeah.
But there's enough armies out there that's pretty much what people are going to do.
Tzeentch got the opposite of Storm Coven.
Ephraim something or other. Yep.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. And I'm like, oh, Tzeentch has a teleport. This game's ruined.
Great. Yeah, this is not good.
That's going to be super busted.
Small shout out to Basil. We were talking in the AOS coach chat, and I totally was like, dude, there's no way Blizzard. Wow. Okay. Anyways, my other salt aside, it says Merciless Blizzard. Okay. There's no way that GW lets Merciless Blizzard. Or there's no way they remember to stop this from being done through Spell Portal, but they actually did, and I'm so glad they did. But there's still stuff that can totally mess this up.
Yeah.
Like holy crap.
Yeah, this was written specifically for, it feels like to me, those cheap wizards. You teleport them, you dump all your primal dice into this. You have fun. He might do a ton of damage. He might blow himself up. Maybe both happens.
Yeah, this is part Timmy, but also part competitive, depending on who uses it. Like, I can see Tzeentch totally running that new Ephraim guy and then just sending someone up using their cheat dice, using primal dice. Oh, here, have a 17 cast on this. Have fun.
Knight Zephyros S tier.
Knight
He's a Knight Zephyros.
Arcane Tome.
Cheapest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he can't take this. Oh, well, I guess he...
They're a Locus.
Yeah, well... Yeah, well, I'm saying, like, to take this, you have the command trait, and maybe...
Yep.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Every turn, you're blasting something for 14 mortal wounds, usually.
I mean, I don't know if y'all saw the Season of War battle report. They were doing this with, like, the Troglodon, whatever, Skink Oracle, whatever.
Starseer? Because the Troglodon can't cast this.
Yeah. It's
Locus he can't cast this.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they basically went, Cosmic Power, a bunch of Seraphon spells, and then they went, yep, I'm going to cast Merciless Blizzard.
Yep.
It's great. I love it because I'm going to kill myself with it just as often as I kill anything else. because for each one you roll on that 46, you take D3. So if you think like Locus is generally smaller heroes, you can't really take 2D3 or 3D3 and live for the most part. It's pretty rough. But I love this spell. This is going to make...
Screening is going to be important. You're gonna need that 3-inch gap between your front line and whatever.
Hey, you know what's great for clearing out stuff in the hero phase? Thunderbolt Volley.
The answer is always gun.
Yeah, translocation happening at any point in the hero phase is so good. So good. I feel that every time I play Seraphon and their translocation, it's actually just called translocation, that happens at the start of the hero phase, and that sucks. Like, it's just so much worse than doing it at any point in the hero phase. But
yeah,
spoiled for choices, I suppose.
I was just telling Assistant Ref, it can't be spell portal or vassal cast.
Yes,
you can't even modify the casting range. So like Astrolith Bearer doesn't add 6 inches to the spell.
Hard
it
cast
cannot be modified
every time.
Yeah, has to be from the caster 12 inches. That's it. No questions asked.
Yep. So just
I'm surprised they did it.
Yep.
I mean, it is a lot. It is a Timmy spell because even with that teleport and like casting, you could fail it, and now you've put a pretty expensive hero, if it's like Tzeentch or something, in the way of like dying.
If only they could teleport away afterwards every single turn.
Yeah, only everyone with a Laura one grip charger.
Zephyros.
Oh man.
Okay, so
Zephyros too. Sure.
This is how you would do it, though.
This is how you do it. This is how you do it. So command traits, Locus only. We're pretty sure this works, for the record. Not 100%, but like 99%.
Because he said it. This is what happened with Cycle of the Storm.
God damn it. Okay.
Now they're going to nerf it, yeah.
But think of the YouTube clicks we can get until then. Okay, so Shaman of the Chilled Lands, the first command trait. This can only be taken by Locus. The general learns all the spells from the lore of Primal Frost. And the way this is written, and the way that Arcane Tome is written, is that if you have a hero that takes the Arcane Tome and is your general and takes this command trait, that gets around the restrictions on the Arcane Tome to not be able to take spell enhancements, and therefore you just get all the spells. So
because this is not a spell enhancement.
Yes.
That is strictly not a spell enhancement.
So practically what this means is that Stormcast finally have a command trait. We did it. We did it, boys. This is actually a good command trait, too. Learning 3 very good spells.
Oh gosh, Beefy Crunch just said Fate Master with Arcane Tome. Let's go.
So remember that
he's back.
Locus, you get Locus Focus, which gives you 2 spells per turn. So you're playing Stormcast, you give Arcane Tome to like your Lord Castellan or your Zephyros or your Imperatant or whatever support hero that's not a wizard. And then you have a choice. Do I learn every single spell from the Lore of Primal Frost on that hero, or do I take High Priest on my Relictor? Probably the lore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are all fantastic spells. And if that hero's casting 2 per turn, well, then potentially you can Hoarfrost and Rupture in the same turn, or you can Hoarfrost Merciless Blizzard, or you can Blizzard Mystic Shield, and then teleport back to wherever you need to be with the Zephyros. So this is a very good command trait. I really like it, but I'm totally biased because I can see a lot of uses for it in Stormcast. I see a lot less for it in Seraphon. Maybe an Astrolith Bearer with an Arcane Tome could benefit from this because he's always in range of his own buffs and everything. That could be interesting. Saurus Old Blood, maybe?
Slap us down.
Yeah, assuming it works, right? If the combo with Arcane Tome doesn't work, I would never ever pick this. Probably.
I could see this on like a Cruel Boy.
Someone use it.
The Cruel Boy spells are nice. They're like fairly short range, and they're not debuffs. They're mostly offensive. I can see like a Cruel Boy Shaman taking this trait to just know the
and incarnate so they can actually use the Rupture, because you're not taking this from Merciless Blizzard.
Yeah. And our armies with like just a crap ton of wizards that they don't really care because they have like a crap ton of wizards. Like Tzeentch, I could see this easily taking this.
This is good for not having to pick a spell enhancement, but still getting these spells and your basic spells at the same time.
Yeah, that's definitely like Skaven might see this. Skaven might actually use like Merciless Blizzard with this. Like they might be able to use the Hoarfrost and Merciless Blizzard and still have all their other spell lore spells.
Yeah, what you hit on there is exactly what I like doing it with it, because I can pick my lore spell and this one. Only in Coalesce side of Seraphon that gets too much into the weeds, but I can pick some different combinations there. Otherwise, I think on those lore spells, if I'm building a list that wants to take use of one of those specifically, usually I'm kind of building my list towards that. I'm not going into a game saying I might cast any one of these 3. So I kind of have a plan for those 3 spells.
Because these spells require your primal dice to make any kind of consistent plays happen.
Almost, yeah.
So
I mean, you know, with your Seraphon, you have some better casting. You can kind of make Hoarfrost work. But...
Seraphon are spoiled for choices on command traits right now.
That's true.
Yeah,
dude, you even there's some of the other traits that might be cool too.
Except in Starborn, you'll almost never go away from the ones that give you extra Celestial Conjuration points.
Master Magic has been really good for me. It has been
very
good
choice.
For me.
Yeah, you're definitely spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of which, other choices.
Eye of the Blizzard. At the start of your hero phase, on a 5-up, you gain primal dice. Maybe
you can get
honestly,
up to 3 primal dice a turn, but
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe like
you
battle.
Would have to not be caring about your command traits and Shaman of the Chill Lands, which is a high ask.
The problem
like maybe
with this,
if I'm taking an Impertinent with Arcane Tome, I could see this.
The problem with this is that it's the start of the hero phase, start of your hero phase. It's not each hero phase like Primal Magic. This is only your hero phase.
Yeah.
Or like the Battalion.
Yeah, Battalion's better.
Battalion is every turn. Yeah.
You can have both. Would you take both?
No,
not.
I mean, well, if I'm all in on it, I think the only armies that would take this would take both.
If it's triggered twice a battle round, I would probably consider it. Once is not good.
Once
you might have a game where this might do nothing, and you're like, wow, I wish I could do anything else.
It could be a situation where your general dies at the top of the round before you can ever activate this. So, yep. Because remember, Galatian champions are gone. You can just shoot everything now.
Yeah.
Chilled to the Bone. Once per battle, you can ignore a miscast or primal miscast on a 3-up.
So you're gonna bank on failing and then still almost fail. Like why?
Yeah, because if you roll the 2 on this, oh man, you're gonna be like.
Yeah, I don't think there's no, it's not good.
Did this really need to have a roll? Like seriously, did this need to have a roll? Would this be that broken?
Considering it's for battle, it could have just said,
Yeah, once per battle, you get to ignore a miscast or primal miscast. I think that's fine, honestly.
That's fine.
I don't know. Each time you Eater of Magic, each time you unbind on a 5-up, the caster forgets that spell.
This is such a cool spell. This is hilarious. This is just awesome.
This is the anti-croak spell right here.
Yeah.
Anti-Techless, anti-croak, anti-Lord of Change.
Poor Sentinels, dude. Imagine you just lose your spell.
Sentinels forget how to use Power Fish. Okay. Game's over. You don't do enough damage to kill me now. It's hilarious. But 5-up.
Hilarious.
I don't know about that. I don't think I'd take it.
I don't know.
I know it's gonna sound weird, but it's like when I look at a lot of these, AOS is not like 40k because 40k lets you like for at least until now had like things that let you do multiple traits. If this was like what was the enhancements we were playing with? Aspect of the champion. Yeah. If this was an aspect, this would be amazing. As a command trait, I don't think so.
Aspect on a 6, I'd love it.
Yeah.
But even on a 6, this would be pretty funny.
Would be like I would take this every time, but it's like command trait, I don't know.
Yeah. I
like this as a Slann player. I like this. If I can throw this on my Slann, sit him in the back, and I'm gonna just be causing you to forget your spells all game because I can unbind anywhere on the board.
It is a 5-up win the game against some armies.
The question is what you're giving up because like I said, it was an aspect you're giving up anything, but like you're giving up quite a lot for taking this. So
Yep. Would you ever give up Master Magic or Lord of Celestial Resonance to take this? Probably not.
The great part is the 5-up because let's say you go, okay, you know what? I'm gonna gear my Seraphon list to be anti-magic. Like I don't care about casting Hoarfrost, I don't care about casting Rupture, but I'm gonna make sure yours doesn't go off, and I'm gonna make sure you can't do it for the rest of the battle round. 5-up is like where I start to feel okay. I'm at least at the minimum gonna need 2 turns of my opponent doing this, me unbinding it, and then me rolling that 5-up. If this was a 4-up,
there's a lot going on
about it.
If this was once per battle, guaranteed, I would really
I think that would be too much. Honestly, I actually think that would be too much.
If this was a 4-up, I'd be like, okay, I can engineer a magic army to be dedicated anti-magic.
Okay,
Like-
Artorias correct though. In Coalesce, this is actually kind of hype. If you're not taking Vengeful Defender, which I mean, that is kind of a trade-off.
You probably should take Vengeful Defender or Prime War Beast.
There's good stuff you're gonna have to give up to take it.
Or Shaman. Actually, Coalesce Shaman is really good on an Astrolith Bearer.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you do want those buffs because your units are feeling kind of overcosted.
And then as soon as your opponent comes in, you blizzard them. Kabbalists are going to do this, man. Slaves of Darkness is just going to teach every wizard, like Kabbalists, because they learn an extra spell, right? All their Locus are just going to learn Blizzard, and then as soon as you get within 12 inches of any of them, zap.
Bang.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Something that's not Ravagers.
Spell ignores.
Yeah.
All right, so those are the command traits. They're mostly junk. If the combo with Shaman of the Chilled Lands works the way we think it does, that's a good command trait. That's like an A tier, I think, for Stormcast. Maybe like a B tier, C tier for Seraphon. But people will use that. The other ones, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's a little too niche. Eater of Magic is definitely a fun one. Like I would definitely take that to an RTT and just like try to mess up someone's day.
Yeah.
Like not in a bad way, but like like this would be a lot more interactive.
Play against Khorne. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the unique enhancements. So the unique enhancements last season were awesome. I really like that system. This is an extra thing your army can take, and if you like it, you can take even more of them, and they were all pretty good, right?
Cool. I like it.
They went a different direction this time, using the unique enhancements in order to supplement armies that don't have wizards, because they recognize not every army has a wizard, which is probably something they should have done in the monster season when they not every army had a monster, so maybe they should have been doing that too.
And even the realm spell didn't even help you in some cases. Like that was such BS.
Yeah. Real quick questions from chat. What's up with the new GHB? Is it good or garbage? Also, greetings from Germany. Is it good? I think so.
I think it's good. How good remains to be seen.
Bounty Hunter season. I think it's better than the Galatian Champion season in some ways. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of back and forth.
If they change Rupture, it's a great season.
Yes. They don't.
No, it looks fun. Honestly, it does look fun.
Yeah.
The extra dice are fun for casting and stuff.
Or Frostival said, "Why is it good in SE?" He was talking about Shaman of the Chilled Lands when you were.
Yeah. So the reason I think it's good in Stormcast is because we really don't have command traits. So like we have 3 choices now instead of 2. It's like you either take High Priest or Master of Magic or Shaman of the Chilled Lands. And the utility of just having those 3 spells, being able to Hoarfrost and Merciless Blizzard in the same turn, if you're going second, for example, that's pretty cool. Not having to take a spell enhancement. If you don't take Shaman of the Chilled Lands, a hero with Arcane Tome was only casting Endless Spells and Mystic Shield. So it gives them more utility over not having it, which is exactly what Stormcast do with all of our terrible enhancements are really just there to be tiny little efficiency boosts. So that's why Arcane Tome is like super, super popular.
Yeah. Paperboy J says, "Is it good?" And then that's on the Shaman thing. We do, if you missed our earlier conversation, we do have to make sure that it works the way that we think it does with the wording. It seems that the rules as written would support this. To be determined. Mm-hmm. But Paperboy J is asking, is the season good for Slaanesh, especially with my Enrapturous? Fun, like, we'll talk about this more when we have our interactions video. The Enrapturous may not be that great because of how Primal Dice work. It's before rerolls, so
yeah,
we'll see how that shakes out.
I don't think Enrapturous forces rerolls, and if you use Primal Dice...
It forces rerolls, but the timing on Primal Dice is before rerolls.
Yeah, because it's your turn, the Primal Dice happen first.
And then you have the priority in deciding if you want to commit a Primal Dice to it.
Yeah.
Make you reroll it, because the Primal Dice can...
That's currently what we have. Obviously, FAQ could happen.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll talk about it more later in the week. Yeah.
More videos coming.
So let's start with the Nullstone Adornments.
Yeah, so you can only take these if you have no wizards, but if you don't have wizards, you just get them. There's no opportunity cost. You just get one of these, and if you want more, you can take a Warlord or something and get additional ones.
It's like Aspect of the Champion. It's the same thing.
It's like an artifact. It's because they said it's like you can't. It basically because they said you cannot give this to someone who has an artifact.
Yeah, it has the same restrictions as an artifact, but it does not count as an artifact.
Yeah, but it does not count towards your total. If you don't have any wizards, you just get one, like Paul said. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so first one here, they showed this off on Warhammer Community. It's the hand-carved Nullstone icon. The bearer can unbind or dispel one endless spell only in the opponent's hero phase. So you can't dispel at the top of your turn, but you can dispel at the top of the enemy turn. And each time you succeed, either unbinding or dispelling, you can unbind one more spell that hero phase, stacking infinitely, presumably. So you can potentially unbind every single spell in the opponent's army, and that's pretty cool. But the thing is, if you're taking this, like, let's say you have the option of having a wizard in your army, all wizards inherently unbind. So you wouldn't not take wizards just to get this, right? Like, if you have an option of taking a wizard or taking this, you'd rather just have the wizard.
Yep.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
The only
100%.
exception I can think of is if you don't really don't care about spells and you have something like a Rune Lord.
Yeah.
That can take.
Yeah.
I'd rather
this
have
does let
Arcane
you play
Tome.
with the this does let you play with the primal dice, right? So even if you don't have a wizard, you can still play primal dice with this thing because you're
So-
unbinding.
That's a good point you raised, because what I was going to get to it with this is, when I think of this artifact, right, I think of an army that I played recently, Fire Slayers. I have a spell ignore, so I don't care that much about magic. I mean, I do care a little, but not that much. And I don't usually take wizards. Like last time I ran it, I don't think I took any. I was considering a battle mage in there. My question is this artifact good enough to displace the Andtorian Locus Battalion? Because the buff there is I can take like a battle mage and an incanter, ally those in, and I could get access to that battalion and get myself an extra primal dice on a 3-up, or I could take this artifact. And I think that's why this artifact, I think, in my opinion, is bad, because the zero wizard stipulation means I would much rather just have another primal magic dice, even if I'm just using it for unbinds.
Yeah, so it has to be like a list that doesn't want any allied wizards even, and it's probably just going to be something Khorne uses, honestly.
Yeah, I say Khorne. Yeah, I was literally gonna be like, it's gonna be Khorne, or
Maybe-
it could be Caradron.
Yeah,
Because they have
Caradron might want to
in the boats. They don't want anything left behind, so they could be
Yeah.
like, okay, I did this to like I don't know, like
And
a navigator.
They might go Barak Thring for a Rune Lord, and that's he's an ally. He's not a coalition, so he can't take this.
Yeah.
But just having him is useful, and then having more unbinds is. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is not great,
Mhm.
but there's some stuff you can do. So, like you mentioned, the Rune Lord, he's got +2 to cast or unbind and dispel. Coalition Rune Lord and Stormkeep, that's pretty cool. +2 unbind against every single enemy spell, and you can add primal dice to that as well. That's pretty neat. But you're also giving up all your wizards, and I'd rather just have more wizards.
Yeah, I'd rather just have the wizard.
I said, yeah.
Yeah.
Even in Fire Slayers, where I was like, okay, I might take this in Fire Slayers. No, I would much rather take an Andtorian Locus Battalion, get myself some primal dice for some unbinds,
Yeah.
take an incanter, maybe a battle mage.
Yeah.
Uh,
Small bit from David Rodriguez in the chat. Caleb, a question for you: do you think Texas is gonna allow the Tome Shaman combo? I can see a lot of whining about it.
Who knows? I think we've got a little while till our first big GT coming up, so we've got plenty of time to wait for the FAQs and stuff.
Yeah. The to be clear, the argument for why it works is because the Arcane Tome specifically says you can't take spell enhancements to learn spells, but you can still do things like cast endless spells, which means you can still learn spells, right? Because to cast an endless spell, you have to know the spell to summon it, and the way you learn the endless spell summoning is by having the spell in your list. So it teaches you a spell, therefore it's possible to learn spells. It just can't be done through a spell lore enhancement. The command trait doesn't say take the spell lore enhancement 3 times on using only this lore. It just says you know all the spells.
Yeah.
So that's the argument. Pretty sure it's good. It's a good enough argument, but maybe it'll get eroded even. Who knows?
APD.
Yep. Pouch of Null Dust. Once per battle, you can declare that you're using this and the start of any hero phase. For the whole phase, double 2s and double 3s count as a miscast or a primal miscast if they're using primal dice. And it also just pulses and tries to dispel every endless spell in a 5-up. This is better than the other one, right? Because this is so disruptive for magic spam armies. Every double 2, every double 3, these are all just fail. Doesn't matter if you have Zytrek and you're +1, you just fail because you roll double 2s and double 3s. It's
This is great. I think this is more anti-magic than Nullstone Icon is.
Mm-hmm.
This is more impactful because the early, like, turns 1 and 2, you pop this. This is going to change the whole game.
It could. People might, play down to avoid that.
You have to remember, miscasts are D3. I don't think most people care.
No, but stopping your spells, like
Yeah.
any multicaster, like stopping in general, because this is going to work on every wizard that's going to be casting. It doesn't even matter even if they all have one spell. Like this is going to be,
It'll it'll make them weary of using.
Yeah, it'll make them hold back maybe. But like looking at the numbers, double ones is a 1 in 36, double twos is a 1 in 36, double threes is a 1 in 36. Now, obviously, it gets more with Primal Miscast, right? You have a higher chance of rolling 2 2s and 4 dice than you do in 2 dice. But if they just don't use the Primal dice, it's only like 3 out of 36, or what is that, like 1 in 12, maybe? Quick math? Yeah. So 1 in 12 chance. Unless you're casting 12 spells, you're probably going to make them all. Still, it's not enough of a deterrent. But what it is a deterrent for is people using Primal dice for that turn.
Yep,
because
that's what I was going to say.
That would really, really hurt. Standard casting...
Too risky at that point. Yep.
Yeah, because when are you using Primal dice? You're using them when... when you're rolling those 1s, 2s, and 3s. That's when you're rolling those lower numbers. You're going to use a Primal dice. And, if they don't use the Primal dice, guess what? You've still got your Primal dice to unbind them with, because you've now disincentivized them. I think there's a double-edged sword there that helps a ton.
If they see a 2 or a 3 on their 2d6, they're not going to use Primal dice.
Yep, they're not going to use it, and then you have a much easier unbind on a key spell.
Right, and because you choose to unbind after you see the complete roll, including Primal dice, you could make that a 3d6 unbind, which is great. So this is better than it seems.
You're generally not going to have any unbinds if you have this, because you can't have any wizards.
Well, you go heroic willpower, and you can have other abilities that let you unbind.
Okay.
There's like Flesh Hounds, there's Rune Lords, there's things that unbind. Navigators from KO. There's unbinds out there.
I got you.
Yeah. You can also just take multiples of these, right? You could take the hand carved Nullstone icon as well. This is good at stopping magic spam armies using Primal dice. Is that enough to make people use it? I don't know.
Well, this is free for the armies that get it. That's the thing.
There's opportunity costs.
I mean, we're talking about Khorne giving on Be'lakor to take this.
Oh, Khorne's gonna love this because if you have Hexgorge or Skulls out, double 2s, double 3s, or unmodified 8s all fail. It's just, oh boy. But I think this next one is the best one, personally. So the Polished Nullstone Pebble. On a 4-up, you ignore a spell, if you're picked by a spell, or the abilities of an endless spell. Why is that word picked italicized, Dan? You seem to have picked
Why does it have to be that way? They have a perfectly functional wording on every other spell ignore in the game.
Yep.
And it's just when affected by a spell or abilities of an endless spell.
This one you have to be picked. Yep.
Yeah, you have to be picked, which, oh my gosh. Like, there's plenty of spells that don't necessarily pick. Even ones that have a single target, some of them are even just, closest, or some of them have a certain, there's a bunch of reasons why this isn't great.
But best case scenario, it's a 4-up spell ignore on a hero.
It is, yeah.
On any hero. So it could be a Makrasha or a Gargant.
Yeah. No,
because what Gargants needed was a 4-up spell ignore.
Which, as evidenced by dragons, is very good.
Yep. Very good.
But this won't stop like a purple sun affecting you, for example. Well, obviously the actually no, it won't stop. You just
only the instant kill potential.
Yeah. Which Gargants, they care about the mortal still, but yeah.
It's better than every other artifact they can take.
Well, I mean, you get this for free if you're not taking. But that's the thing, you're not taking a tome as Gargant.
If you miss out on tome, you just take one of their artifacts that actually does something. So it's like you have a choice: Arcane Tome or this and one of your book artifacts. I think you're gonna pick the book and this thing.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, there's all sorts of heroes that could use this. Now there is a downside here. The way it's worded, it almost seems like the 4-up spell ignore is the side feature. But basically, if there's another unit within 3 inches and within range of the spell, and this is an important caveat, then the spell targets that unit instead. So if you have, for example, an 18-inch range spell, and you have a hero that's in range of it, and that hero is within 3 inches of another unit, but that unit is not within 18 inches of the wizard, it just fizzles on a 4-up. So it has to be specifically, the spell has to be in range of both units in order for it to be redirected, which means it's very easy to just have a 4-up spell ignore artifact. Or artifact, it's not an artifact, but it's basically an artifact.
Here's something else to know.
All built for Khorne. All of them. Because Khorne can do some crazy stacking with this.
Yes,
because
you can
I'm going to spell ignore.
Yeah.
If that fails, for whatever reason, I still have my 5-0 spell ignore.
Yep.
Or I can succeed my 4-up, pass it on to another unit.
Have them roll.
Yeah, that unit does it. You can pass it off to like Skull Crushers, and don't they have the mortal wounds?
Mortal wounds, yeah.
Yeah. So you just have multiple ways to just stop things.
Keep
different rolls.
Now, Maw Crushers with Minun, or not Minun, Weirdun, which gives them a spell ignore. This stacks with that. So
yeah, this does.
Maw Crushers just become nerd killers, and then every time they kill a wizard,
so cool,
they get bonuses, right? So yeah, pretty cool. I think this is the best one of the 3. I predict this one's going to see the most play. There's just a lot of good heroes that would want it if you're not taking wizards. Pouch of Null Dust is there as like tech against Primal Magic multi-cast spam armies.
I think it's turn 1 alpha. If turn 1 alpha has become really popular with Magic, I think that's what this artifact is for. I think people without any unbinds can tech into it.
Yeah, this can really mess up a Trog Bomb.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Spells, yeah. This could hurt it.
Yeah, and all you need is 1 unit to survive that first turn against Croak, and then you win the game because that list doesn't have enough bodies.
Yeah. I definitely like that Nullstone Pebble. Like, you're already taking us in armies that don't have wizards, which generally have anti-magic measures. So Khorne, Fire Slayers, OBR, you're going to take a wizard. Like, it's just going to happen. So,
you guys will actually consider this because
you think you could?
Because the Battlesmith's icon is pretty limited.
Oh, Fire Slayers. Yeah, I was saying OBR wouldn't.
Oh no, not an OBR.
Yeah, OBR wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't want to stack this, and you don't need it. Null Myriad is a 2-up, so like.
Yeah, on the Runefather and Magmadroth, I could see taking this.
Yeah,
that could be cool.
Or run the ultimate support, so yeah.
Yeah. Also, fun fact: Rune Sun on Magmadroth is a hero, but not a leader. So they can fit inside that wizard battalion, the anti-wizard battalion.
Locus, yep.
And they can take this.
Wizards.
Wait, on Magmadroth, you have more wounds though than you can have.
He's not a Locus, but he goes into the battalion because he's a troop.
He's the Wizard Hunter battalion.
Wizard Hunter. Sorry, I thought you were Locus.
No.
He's a hero.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
So that's fun. Stegodon's fit in there too. That could be fun. Big old dinosaur hunting nerds. Okay, moving on to the next subject, which is what I've been looking forward to talking about all day. The endless spell Warscroll updates. So first off, we have no idea what the points look like. Yeah, sure. We have no idea what the points are going to look like. All of these impressions are based purely off the Warscroll rules. We're going to assume they're not going to shift too much in points. Like, spells aren't going to suddenly double in points compared to what they used to be. Yeah, nothing here is like wildly stronger than it used to be. Some things even got twice as strong, but they're still not so strong that they should cost more. Like the Grave Wave,
significantly more at least.
Yeah, like Grave Wave's not going to be more than 60.
No.
Right? It's not that crazy. So there's a few spells down here. We're going to go through each one of these spells. We have a slide for each one. There's a few that we're not going to talk about, and that's the Horror Gas, the Emerald Life Swarm, the Quicksilver Swords, and the Jaws, because they're basically unchanged. Mm-hmm. I think the only change here is like Jaws specifies you round up instead of down, or the other way.
Round down. Yeah, round down instead of up.
Round down. Yeah. So that's the only change. Everything else is the same. Probably points shifted. Like if the Emerald Life Swarm is still 60 points, it's just unplayable garbage. But everything else has a chance, I guess. Jaws are pretty good. Yep. Okay, so let's look at the significant changes. First up is the Aether Void Pendulum. So first up, it casts on a 6 now instead of a 5, which I think is good because it's harder to dispel. This was really, really easy to dispel. You would stick it out there and your opponent wouldn't even bother moving out of the way because they knew they could just toss a trivial dispel at it and it would just be gone. It didn't matter. It also did only D3 mortal wounds. It wasn't a big threat. It was like, whatever. D3, cool. That didn't change anything for me. Now it's D6. Again, it used to be D6 in 2nd edition, and it's D6 again. And everyone will learn to fear the pendulum because all of the stuff that can teleport and then cast Merciless Blizzard, all of that's going to be casting Pendulum too. And the Pendulum doesn't just hit the one unit, it hits every unit in a line. So what I love doing this in the second edition, you would teleport a wizard onto the flank of an army. So they got all their guys sitting up here, you teleport here, you send the Pendulum through the army, d6 mortal wounds to everything. And then if they don't dispel it, which it's harder to do now, it's going to happen again next turn. Because they don't get a chance to move until after the hero phase is over.
Yep, 2d6.
And, most importantly, this can move back and forth in a line. Previously, the Pendulum had to just go in a single direction until it just disappeared off the table, or enemies ignored it. But now, it's going to go, whoop, yeah, just keep chopping stuff in that general area.
It's an actual pendulum now, imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was their intent. They just didn't quite get the rules right, so it didn't work that way. But now it's explicit that it does work this way, and there's no debate about it. So Aether Void Pendulum looking a lot better. Really, really good.
I love that it comes back and forth now. That was always I haven't played this thing in forever, but back when it first came out, you would cast it. Once it did its damage, nobody cared about it because it was just heading off the board for the rest of the game. But coming back the way it came now is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be 2d6 mortal wounds that you pretty much have to answer. And, like, even you think, oh, throwing a trivial Unbind, I mean, that's not that trivial. You're giving up a spellcast, which you're often wanting.
To make sure you don't get hit with a d6 mortal wound, people are probably going to use a Primal Dice on this. They're going to use a Primal Dice to Unbind, and then probably, if it fails, a Primal Dice to Dispel. Like, this is a big sink of Primal Dice, because it's such a big threat.
Yeah, you don't want this to murder your your little heroes that were sitting, in the back. You don't want this to murder them, because 2d6 mortal wounds... That's gonna kill most heroes.
Yep. Knight Zephyros, S tier. I'm telling you guys. So, looks great. Points. What do we think point-wise? It's not gonna be 30 anymore. It's probably gonna be 60.
No, it's not gonna be 30. Yeah, it's probably... I was thinking 50. I don't think it'll get that expensive, because I think this will be a priority Unbind.
No, I think it's the 70... This is a 70-point spell now.
I mean, I don't know.
It's one of the... Yep.
It's not that hard to Unbind.
Look at Ravnak's draws. It picks one unit.
You've got Primal Dice to Unbind it right now.
Well, I mean, that doesn't matter, though, because we're talking about it sticking after Primal Dice, right? Because I'm assuming they're not going to change the spell back. So
we'll see, because they've now updated them every single, annual GHB.
The good news is, like, with the spells, if they make them useful, they're not going to point it to a point where it's a free slot. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is the conscious choice of slotting something in starts at about 60 points. So at least 60, maybe 70.
I think 60. Yeah.
I don't know about
70. At least
70
double.
Seems a lot. I don't know if I'd take it past 70. Like, this is... Whew.
If it's 70 or 80...
But yeah, I don't think this is going to be a gimme.
I wouldn't use it at 80, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it lower than 50 for sure. Like, there's literally no way, but...
Pretty good spread, somewhere between 50 and 70. It's, like, one of the more expensive spells, let's say.
Yep.
For sure. I can't wait to shotgun blast people with it again.
So cool.
And then the Kronspine eats it. And... yeah, oh my god. Okay, Chronomantic Cogs. Everybody was complaining about these last season, and they were... I guess I'm proven wrong, but I want to say everybody else was wrong, because they weren't that good. Like, they were fine. Anyway. No longer gives rerolls to casting. You still have a charge reroll aura. I've never seen anybody use it. I don't think anybody ever will. Nope. You can just reroll charges with command points. Don't bother, right? Until they get rid of that command ability. There's just no reason to ever use the aura here. What it does now, instead of rerolling casting for every wizard nearby, it allows you to pick one wizard wholly within 6, and that wizard can cast Arcane Bolt or Mystic Shield without counting towards their max spellcast. So, for example, a Slan can cast 3 spells and then cast Mystic Shield on top of that, which is cool. This also doesn't require a wizard hero. This effect just requires a wizard. So if you have, Evocators are a bad example because they can't do it, but like Sentinels could cast an extra spell with this, right? Which is cool. Now, you can't double the spell, so this isn't like a second Mystic Shield or a second Arcane Bolt. This is just the one Mystic Shield you'd get for the turn. You can just do that for free. Since you have to cast the cogs in order to get that free spell, you basically just cast an extra spell for nothing. Right?
Yeah.
But it's like for future turns, you're piling on this additional value, assuming you stay wholly within 6 inches. So it's like Seraphon could really benefit from this. Tzeentch could really benefit from this. Any army that wants to cast spells for the sake of casting spells is going to like this. Fate points, cosmic power points, baiting out enemy unbinds with additional spells. Like, there's niche case uses in some armies, but I think it's pretty much just going to be like Seraphon, Stormcast, Slaves, Tzeentch.
Yeah. It was so good with the rerolls. It's got to go down big time in points, because while this has a slight effect, giving you an extra spell cast, it's just not. It's not going to see the board for me very often, I don't think.
Probably going to be 48 points after this.
Well, this second effect is actually really good. Wizard heroes that are wholly within 6 inches, you're -1 to shoot them. Now that stacks with Lookout Sir, which is great, but also any hero can become a wizard if you have Arcane Tome. So Star Drake could potentially be -1 hit against shooting. Mock Russia, anything. Well, no, not Mock Russia. Its base is more than 6 inches. But picture a Toralon. It's now -1 hit against shooting. Right? Any single hero in the game could benefit from this.
I mean, who does that really matter against? I mean, it doesn't. So it maybe matters against KO, but I can't really see this mattering. Slanesh has too much volume. Idneth has too much volume. KO probably doesn't care, because if you're putting this on something like a Tauron, they don't have native Lookout Sir.
Yep, Sentinels just do mortals, Storm Drakes just do mortals, Tempest just do enough mortals.
I don't really care enough about this.
It has to be a big wizard, right?
Yeah.
Like 14 plus wounds. We're talking Magmadroth with an Arcane Tome.
Yeah.
Right. Would you take the spell just for that? And probably the fact that it gives you a Mystic Shield as well? No, probably not. But if you're taking an Arcane Tome and you have whatever amount of points left over, maybe. If it's 30, 40 points, I could actually see it. Because it casts Mystic Shield for you. So it's like, not only are you getting Mystic Shield, you're also getting -1 hit against shooting. So, maybe, right? And the last change to Cogs is that instead of... You can also change the aura. You can change it to reroll charges for some reason if you wanted to at the start of the hero phase. Sorry, Dan, what were you saying?
Oh, no, never mind. I was like, this would have been so cool if it didn't say Wizard Heroes, but... Oh,
yeah, if it was just Wizards, I'd love it on Dracolines and Storm Coven, and... Yeah. Lumineth would love it. You're just -2 to hit them all the time.
Well, I mean, they're not... Anyways. Not
right.
exactly, but yeah.
Geminids of Ulgish. The best spell in 2nd edition is now the best spell in 3rd edition. Because instead of shutting off commands until the combat phase, it shuts off commands until the start of the next hero phase, which means the whole turn. It shuts off every single command for the whole turn. No Inspiring Presence, no all-out attack, no strike first combat phase abilities, nothing. You get nothing. You don't get mortal wounds with it anymore, which is unfortunate, but that could be seen as an upside, because if you ignore the mortal wound, you also ignore the effect of the spell. So now it's way more reliable for the most part, because everybody has wards. And it's basically a horror gas wrapped in there that you can't move out of range of the horror gas, right? Like sometimes what people do is they pull models so they're no longer wholly within range of the horror gas. This just pulses and lasts the whole turn. So, yep. How many points do we think it's going to be? 80?
It's a real
100. It's got to be more than Horgas, which is what, 70?
Horgas could be 30 though.
Yeah. Horgas
is 80
go
points
back down.
80 points spell at least.
Yeah, this is like 80 points. This is a massive deal.
I could see it at 70 because it does nothing on its own. And if you think about other invocations and spells that do literally nothing on their own, they require additional setup, like Bleeding Icon, Bone Tithe Shrieker. All these things require other units to combo off of them. Those are like 40 to 50 points. So making it neutral and having a failure chance, right? It is a 2-up still. I can see it 70 points. I honestly can.
Because it's also shorter range. Like Horgas
is shorter range.
Horgas are 32-inch effective. This is 16.
So, well,
in your army, it's 16.
Yeah. Well, we all play teleporting armies here. Okay, let's be real.
Yeah.
Range is not a thing we're concerned about. But most armies, it's hard to cast. But it's so strong. It's so damn strong. Yeah, I can see it at 70 points. I would pay like 90 for this. I would pay the Purple Sun price for this. It's that good.
I think it's better than Purple Sun because it basically combines the Purple Sun value.
It does. It is an effective rend against some.
Yeah, the fact that it works in combat is so good.
Yeah.
It's Purple Sun and Horgas rolled into one.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Very good.
Malevolent Maelstrom. This got the biggest glow up because it was complete trash. So anything that happens is good. Most people don't know what it did, so I'll explain that before I talk about the changes. So what the Maelstrom used to do was every time you cast a spell or a model died while it was wholly within 12 of this, you'd tick up a little dice that was next to it. And when it ticked up enough, it would explode. And on a 4-up, stuff would take mortal wounds. I think that's how it worked. This was bad for a lot of reasons, because it would usually just get dispelled before it even mattered. And even then, it was max D3 mortal wounds to everything. And I think it was like a 6-inch range. It wasn't very big. It's been completely overhauled. It still has the little stacking dice thing. But it's still based on models dying or casting spells near it. But what you can do is every time this thing is removed for any reason, it explodes automatically. So if your opponent dispels it, boom, goes off, right? And what happened? And it always deals the D3 mortal wounds. That's not based off a dice roll anymore. It always deals 3 mortal wounds to Wizard, which is awesome. And what happens with the dice is it modifies the radius of the explosion. So instead of it having a chance to do mortal wounds based on the number on the dice, now it just changes how big the explosion is. And it starts at 7 inches. So if you just cast this thing and nothing else, you have better than a Comet from a Night Vexillor, because the Comet is 6 inches. This is minimum 7-inch range. And you can just dispel it yourself. At the start of the next enemy hero phase, dispel, gone. Everything takes D3 mortal wounds. Or if you're a wizard, you took 3.
Yeah, the wizard taking 3, that one is, that's pretty hype. Because we talked about how the wizard battalion might be useful in some situations. Yep. This can be useful in many situations.
Yeah, so I can see this a lot with a Kronspine in particular, because it's just when it's removed. It doesn't specifically say dispelled, it says when it's removed, which infers it's being dispelled, but the Kronspine doesn't dispel. The FAQ is very clear about this. The Kronspine just removes the endless spell, which causes the Malevolent Maelstrom to explode. So I can see these two being used all the time together. You just soften everything up with a Malevolent Maelstrom before you go in with the Kronspine. Comet Fall lists just got a best friend. Like, you drop a meteor and then you throw a Malevolent Maelstrom forwards. Huge range, easy cast. It's not to love. I would pay 50 points for this, like a D3 mortal wound every turn, maybe 40. It's more like a Burning Head, I think.
It's not a massive range. It's what, 16 inches? Yeah, 16 effective. Oh, okay, for most armies. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, like, you cast it, it moves, and then it explodes up to a max of 13
inches.
Okay,
yeah, it does max 7 inches. Yeah,
huge range.
Fair. That is a pretty big range,
yeah.
This is one of those endless spells my eyes always glaze over when I try to read its rules, because it has so many layers. But I like this. When it now explodes on the dispel, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like that a lot.
Yep. If the Aether Void Pendulum was doing D3 mortal wounds to everything, this could probably be about 40 points, I think, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
50, just so like.
Yeah, the 3 to Wizards probably pushes it up to the 50 range, I think. I wouldn't pay more than 50, though.
Yeah. But what a glow up. This spell has been useful.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
It's nice to see it,
I think I sold mine because it wasn't that great.
It's one of the only on the spells I haven't painted yet. It's just sitting there on my shelf because it's never been useful.
I have to
ever.
check.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the Prismatic Palisade. Before it was a cast 5, it was easy to cast and therefore easy to dispel. And that pretty much made it worthless because everybody would just dispel it or move away from it. And both of these things have been fixed. Also, the range is much higher. It used to be 8-inch range setup. Now it's 18, so it's harder to cast, bigger range, harder to dispel. You'd think everything that was wrong with it has been fixed. And it's no longer an aura, so enemies just can't move away from it. Now it's a pulse effect that happens at the start of the hero phase.
You wrote it in.
Yes, which is great. The problem is it's no longer guaranteed. It's on a 3-up. Each enemy unit within 6 inches, you roll a dice, and on a 3-up, they can't use missile weapons that turn. That inconsistency probably kills the spell for me, because if you're going to cast this spell, and because this activates at the start of the hero phase, on your turn, you have to activate this effect before your opponent has a chance to dispel, which is good, right? They don't have a chance to dispel it until you use it, but on the opponent's turn, they can have a chance to dispel it before it goes off. You could probably make an argument that it's going to burn Primal Dice, and that's a good thing. But how many armies use shooting? How do you want to use your primal dice to cast this? Because it is a 7. 7's not trivial for most armies.
You're good for the unbinding aspect of it, but then there's primal dice. So
if they really want to dispel it, you're just taking away their primal dice basically, and then it's just
if you're playing against Squirrel Boys, they're gonna do it.
It's a 3-up. Like, how often do you fail a translocation without High Priest, without +1?
Why?
Like, yeah. Could have been a 2-up. Honestly, it could have been a 2-up. I think.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, how many points would you guys pay for this?
If I was worried about things like volume shooting off of KO or what's the
Slaanesh. Yeah.
Man, this spell just wrecks them. Like, what does KO do?
Take out like 33% of their damage output, or for KO, literally like almost 100, depending on the list.
Yeah. If KO isn't carrying, because I know KO has like an artifact that makes him a Knight Incanter effectively.
Voidstorm,
whatever it's called. Yeah. If they don't have that, they're screwed.
They're going to have Primal Dice, and they're going to Heroic Willpower Primal Dice. If this is going to go on their units, they're going to Heroic Willpower Primal Dice, get it out of the way. It's not like they don't have CP problems as far as like waiting to pop off.
Because shooting is very powerful in AOS, typically. It always has been. There's a lot of shooting armies that always tend to do kind of well. You can get this off against them and roll that 3-up. Oh, it's
an effective gamble.
But then consider how many times you roll a 1 or 2. Like, Artorius Rex in the chat is completely right. It is a 3-up. The person on the receiving end has to treat it as a sure thing. And they will use primal dice to dispel it. Right? You're soaking up their resources. And that's the real use of it, is you're getting rid of their resources. So it comes down to how many points is this? Because it's straight up useless in some matchups. So how many points?
Does this prevent Unleash Hell?
Yes.
Because of the missile weapon?
Yep.
Okay.
Cannot use missile weapon.
Which is still decent. Like, that's still a great use. It's just you're really bringing it to try to deny a whole enemy turn of shooting.
Yeah. It's fine. I like that it's better than it was before. I don't think it's like...
Yep.
I'd pay 40 for this. I don't know when I'd pay it, but if I were to consider bringing it, I wouldn't want to pay more than 40.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
If it was I would love it if it was 30 and you could slam it on every list, because the game would be more interesting that way. Because shooting is not good for the game. as shooting aficionado.
As a shooting, we love shooting here, but
we love shooting, but we've got Scion, so we don't really give a shit about this spell.
And that's the other thing, if you're playing against,
I have Scions of the Storm.
All right, Soul Snare Shackles. They have been modified significantly because they had this ridiculously strong effect that prevented run or charge rolls if you were within 6 inches, which was super cool. But everybody, I don't know about you guys, every time I tried doing it, it just got dispelled. Somehow they always roll an 8, even if it's like ogres with +0, they just always roll the 8 and get rid of it. So they just kept reducing the points down, and they're like, we're just going to give up on that design. So instead, what they do now is at the start of the movement phase, units within 6 inches, you roll a dice and you subtract that from their move. So it's like a negative run on them, which
that's cool.
Which is cool, but especially when you combo this with redeploy, you're basically minus 2d6 to a unit's potential charge. But the spell still has the same problem of being super short range. So anything that would be in range to get affected by this spell, unless you're a teleport wizard army, usually, if they're within range to be affected by it, they're going to charge you anyway, right? They're going to get to more than 3 inches away from you usually, and then, you'll redeploy, but the spell doesn't do anything in that case, right? So it's only useful in armies that can whip it forward in some way, and even then, it can still just get dispelled. Like, it's not a harder cast by any means, it's still a 7. Now with Primal Dice, dispelling is easier than ever if they really want to get rid of it. The only way this sees play, I think, is like magic spam army like Lumineth or Tzeentch or Seraphon. And it's like the third spell you bring, because they can't dispel everything.
Mm-hmm.
So for that niche, it's got to be like 30 or 40 points. It can't be expensive.
I'm thinking 30.
Just too short range. I didn't realize it was a range of 8 nowadays. I hadn't seen it in a while. We used to be able to throw that thing across the board at one point in time.
Yep.
But 8 inches is just too short.
Well, it's 14 for Seraphon, but
okay, we get it. Not gonna.
Who will use this? Soulblight, probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, playing control, yeah.
You don't care if it
I don't want to
yourself.
play the game with you. Yeah, you don't want to play the game with someone else. That would ruin the experience.
Want a deep strike with your grave sites, and you just want to put this in front of your guy. You're like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna stay here.
Just wasting their cast. That's what you're doing.
Yep.
You're reducing all of their resources down.
Soulblight is all about wasting your time.
Yeah, 40 points, no more. I don't think it's not that strong of an effect. Even minus D6 move is good, but there's so much stuff that just
okay. Yeah. I think most endless spells will take at least a 10-point hike because they're getting more refined, at least.
They are a lot better.
Jaws, Jaws, Life Swarm, Horrorghast, all the ones that didn't change, they could go down 10 or 20. Probably
Horrorghast,
like 30 for Horrorghast.
Horrorghast needs to go down like 30.
Yeah.
Horrorghast, no. I mean, let's be real. 32-inch, because it's not wholly within. It's within. So it's...
Oh, no, Horrorghast is wholly within, I'm pretty sure. Isn't it?
No way.
It's not?
It is just within, I'm pretty sure. I've had games where I made sure to keep the unit wholly within, so even if they pulled every single model... Oh my gosh,
it is.
But it is
Why is it within? This spell is so dumb.
So that's why I think it'll at least be over 50, but I can see it going down 10 points.
Yeah.
I think most people will just use that thing. But okay, moving on. Gravetide.
Gravewave.
Second most improved, I would say, after the Maelstrom. Very simple improvements. They gave it 50% more movement, so it moves an extra 4 inches, 12 instead of 8. And now it deals mortal wounds on a 5 instead of a 6. They doubled the mortal wound output.
Heck yeah.
And now every single army in the game has a spell that does roll dice equal to models on 5-ups its mortal wounds. That's good, because that's a very, very important spell for every army to have. Hordes ever step out of line, you just start whipping grave waves at them. And
if they don't dispel it, it'll block them.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can move through on the spells.
Sure, but think of how many of the infantry big blocks have movement. You can
100%
move on it.
Yeah, Rob Molshine has literally been running an endless spells focused like blocking list where you just block whole lanes with endless spells like Scuttle Tide, Grave Wave. This is so cool, and I love that it affects, like, you have to pass over any models in the unit, but you get to roll over all the models. You don't have to pass over them or anything. Mm-hmm. It's just you touch the unit and you roll for every, it could be 60 zombies and you roll for all of them.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
It's great. Yeah,
I've really liked having Cosmic Crush and Tide of Serpents and Stellar Tempest and Seraphon. I'm not going to use this in Seraphon, but I would consider using this in Stormcast, right? If you're playing
I don't know. It could be a cool denial piece in Seraphon. You can deny a lot of space with this dang thing.
I've always had problems with actually casting it because it's so big. It's hard to find a place to put it next to your wizard because you have to get it wholly within something. It was short. I don't know if it's still that way now.
Wholly within 8 inches. Yeah.
14.
Well, 14, but yeah.
Well, 14. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe Seraphon does want this.
You'll be fine.
It's just, I think I would actually consider using it in Stormcast if you have a list that's like very elite damage, like Long Strike Stormdrake, which has always been a questionable combo because it can't deal with mass wounds. Well, what if you have a Gravetide in there to deal with the 60 zombie hordes or the 40 squigs or whatever?
Yep, block movement, block them, kill them out. This is a lot cooler of a spell than I think people give it credit for, and I think that we're going to see it a lot more now.
It feels like a 50-point range spell to me. Doesn't feel like a 70 or 80. It's more in that like mid-tier 50, roughly.
Yeah, because what does it cast on now? It casts on a 6, so that's not that hard to unbind.
Easy cast.
Yeah.
Pretty good. The Burning Head, so totally different. Really weird. They're definitely experimenting with some stuff with this one, right?
Yeah, they brought over some of the kind of 40k-ish stuff.
Yeah, so what it used to do is it would just move forward and explode and deal D3 mortal wounds to everything. Now it moves forward and attaches to a unit if you roll a 2+. And when it's attached to a unit, every movement phase, it deals D3 mortal wounds on a 2+. Now it says the marker, that Burning Head exists as a marker next to the unit, and it dispels itself when the unit is destroyed. Can you dispel it normally? Can the enemy dispel it?
I mean, presumably, yeah. I mean, it's still an endless spell. The other thing is, like, I don't know. It's weird because does it now block movement, right?
Well,
like,
it says it
joins,
right? It's a marker, so you can move on it. It's just considered like part of the unit now.
It's just so weird.
If it's part of the unit, how does that work for Warscroll purposes? Because you can't have 2 Warscrolls in one unit.
No. It's like The spell is there.
I know what the intent is. I'm saying, what are the actual rule implications of this?
It's just so. Oh gosh, we're gonna get into it
because you can't dispel a unit.
For...
You can't dispel a unit.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do you dispel this? I think this might be permanent, honestly. Like it just keeps burning until the unit dies. And if it doesn't do that, this is useless because why would you ever bring this? Why would you bring a 2+ fail to attach and then a 2+ fail D3 mortal wounds to one unit each turn? It's terrible. Unless this lasts until the unit burns to death, this is a terrible spell that nobody should use. Unless it's like 10 points, right? Whatever. But it's just...
See. Yeah.
Is this the same verbiage as like a bloat toad that attaches itself as a marker?
Yes.
Yeah, bloat toad is the other, like the only other thing that. Well, there might be something else, but
what you can do is you can move this anywhere you want to. Just keep it near the unit as a marker. But if they want to move on there, you can like.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can move.
I think
it
how
moves
that would
with
work.
the unit. It joins the unit, right?
And the spells aren't considered models. There's a whole thing.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so assuming it lasts forever, it's decent. You just this unit will eventually burn to death, unless the game ends first, because it's D3 mortal wounds for 5 rounds. Like it's not a lot.
Yeah.
But it's a cool concept. If it just fizzles out and you can just dispel it normally, trash. Don't use it. Don't bother.
If it's cheap, you still might. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the only niche for it, and that's not a good niche. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be the same points, right? Because it's probably gonna just do the same amount of mortals wounds it's always done, right?
It does less now.
I'm gonna do it to multiple because previously it used to be like a hand grenade. You just like put
a little hand grenade. Yeah.
And it only had 1 2-up you had to succeed, not multiples, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's bad unless it lasts forever. Unless it's infinite, it's not good.
Unless it's infinite.
Spell portal. All right. 3 big changes to spell portal. Everybody hates spell portal. One part of the spell must be set up within an inch of the caster. That is a huge nerf already. Because what people were doing with spell portal was they had a guy over here, and they had a wizard over here, and he would put the spell 18 inches this way, and then the other one 18 inches this way, and you basically created a 36-inch bridge this way. Like, it was stupid, right? It was so stupid. So that's a big nerf, the fact that it has to be set up near the caster, which means it's usually the caster doing it. You're not having wizards. If you have wizards helping wizards, they're close to each other, right? So positioning requirements.
Effectively makes it a 36-inch threat range for whatever is coming through the spell portal.
Yeah,
basically,
which is a lot easier to deal with. Second nerf, you have to declare which spell is using the portal. You can't just hope to guess that you have to unbind this key spell because it's going to go through the portal and do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Information is power in this game. Knowing that your opponent has to declare they're using the portal, that's a big deal. You know the threat that's coming. Spells usually don't pick targets until they're resolved, right? So it's like a lot of people do this where they're going to say, I'm going to cast Mystic Shield on this unit. It's like, cool. You didn't have to tell me that second part. Now I know that I'm going to try to unbind that because you said it. You said that's what you're going to do. But if you said it was on a worse unit, I wouldn't care, right? So knowing which spell is going through the portal is a big deal. The last big nerf is that the spell can be unbound from the portal instead of from calculating it from the caster. And in almost every situation, this means you're going to have a chance to unbind from the portal, right? There's going to be some weird janky thing where like a skink casts a portal near a Slan and then Slan casts back to the portal at the back of the table to cast Comet's Call out of unbinding range. There's going to be some jank like that. But aside from that like super niche situation, it's going to be just worse. The portal's going to be worse, which is good because Spell Portal has just been dragging this whole game into the dirt with it. All spells are balanced around the portal, basically giving you infinite range. It's the dumbest thing. I hope these changes are enough. I would prefer it if they just completely changed it. I don't like this additional range. I don't think this should be a neutral effect. It just warps the game too much. But that's my take. What do you guys think?
It's hard, right? They at least realized that it was a problem having spells A be cast out of unbind range, B have infinite threat range as opposed to like 36 at best. You know, so I'm glad. Baby steps. What I would be really happy with, and I wonder if this is coming when we get the battle scroll, hopefully this week. What do they do about other spell portal like effects? Because consistently see that effects like this when, like you know, Vassal casting, Sylvaneth treating their Wildwoods as a spell portal for one spell, I think, or multiple spells, whatever. it always has that effect that you were talking about, like spells being bounced around their threat range?
Well, those are all faction-specific things, right?
Do they at least allow unbinding via whatever you're using as the range extender? Is my question.
On one hand, I hope they don't, because it's super fun to play carefully and get the advantage of casting out of unbinding. On the other hand, it's not fun to play against casting without unbinding. It's super oppressive when that's comboed with very high impact spells. Like if you're using, for example, Croak, who's casting spells out of range, that's terrible. A regular Slan casting out of range, probably not the end of the world, right? It's like, yeah, 3 spells, cool. I don't know. It could go either way, right? Like, it could be fine because it's faction-specific stuff. It's like, this is a cool thing Sylvaneth and Seraphon do. Nobody else does it. It's a problem when it's on, like, the spell portal, which is neutral. Everybody can use it. The point cost was never stopping armies from bringing it. It's like, Tzeentch just, every list starts with this.
Points down because of this thing.
Yeah. So, how much would you guys pay for this new effect? Is this still an 80-point spell?
Yeah, I think so. I think 36-inch range is pretty good.
I think almost regardless of the cost, if you've got a spell that you want through this, you're going to pay it because it can get you that range that you need. And thankfully, they put that caveat on Blizzard that it can't go through this.
Yeah, the Blizzard thing definitely.
Yeah. So here's I think Tzeentch. I think here's the thing, right? So like anyone that has range extenders like Seraphon, Sylvaneth, I don't think will take this. I think Tzeentch will still take it because they are effectively 18-inch kill box the army. Them being able to send a spell out through this thing is still extremely impactful, whether that be 36 away. 2, because this is like a 2-step spell, this is perfect for that Ruptured Crown Spine combo we just mentioned.
Yeah.
It gives the Crown Spine charge target.
It's only 18 inches, and I think some other spells might be able to go further, and that might be something you want for a Wild Crown Spine to go as deep as possible. 18's probably fine, but I wouldn't pay 80 points when you could just take like a Maelstrom or something for less. You know,
yeah.
Like, if your only purpose is to get the Crown Spine to eat it, there's better spells for that.
Sure, but you know, Tzeentch is like 18-inch mortal wounds.
Oh, Tzeentch is going to take this anyway, right? They're just
it's just good. It's just good for them to take.
Like I think Techless still might, if people run Techless, or you know,
I hope they don't.
Or they.
I hope they don't. I'm really liking this period where Morathi is not good enough to see play. Kind of sucks that Daughters of Cain as an army don't see play, but hey, you know, design the book without Morathi being the everything model.
Yeah, for real.
All right, moving on. Soulscream Bridge. I have never ever used this spell because I play 2 armies that teleport. But I understand that for many other armies, lesser creatures with short legs and guns, they really, really like being able to teleport around. Well, who can blame them? It's great. You know, loving it. So there's
what they have to do to get a fraction of our power. I mean, they teleported boats, but still, it's funny.
So there's 3 main nerfs here. First one, range down. Instead of 24 inches, it's 18, and that extra 6 inches is a huge deal, right? Especially going into next season, which we'll talk about the battle plans, but it looks like the battle plans are less or more spread around. You need to be in different parts of the board at different times, more so than current season. So that's a big nerf. It's got the same kind of one part has to be set up within range of the caster thing. That's another big nerf because it's predictable. You can tell which wizards are going to cast it, where they're going to cast it. Also, and this is awesome, I really like this direction. Units that use the Soulscream Bridge cannot issue or receive commands until that player's next hero phase. So
very cool.
If you send 30 Thunderers through it, they die.
Because they can't unleash hell.
They can't unleash.
They can't AOD.
They can't AOD. They can't rally.
They can't rally. Yeah.
Yep. They're just dead.
Well, start of the next player's hero phase, they'd be able to. Although they can't rally on your hero phase. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you were to do any damage to them somehow, it's either way. It can matter.
Well, no, on your turn you do. Yeah, like they charge. Yeah, you're right. There's good, but
there's
other units besides Thunderers, right? Yeah. Like, there's other units that are going to take damage. Beast of Chaos likes using this. Cities of Sigmar. Yep.
Yeah.
Iron Drakes. Yeah.
So I love this.
I think Storm Fiends liked it for a bit, but yeah.
There's also double turns. Keep that in mind. Double turns exist. Like you might teleport forward and then die to a double turn. So
yeah, prevents my biggest thing is it prevents the reroll charges out of Soulscream Bridge.
Yep,
that's true. Even if you got a bonus to charge, sometimes you get screwed.
Is there somebody just really abusing this that it needed 3 nerfs here?
Caradron.
Well,
Caradron was
needed to change because it was kind of like the spell portal where the range was unlimited. So Thunderers could reach you first turn anywhere. It didn't matter.
Gotcha.
Pretty
So now
much anywhere, yeah.
It's a little more predictable where they're going. The second problem was like we said, like the biggest problem was things coming out of it and all-out attack or rerolling charges and just blockading you. If it works, it's like a Hail Mary play, but it's like if it works, you know.
Yeah.
Like what I was using this for, and I was like this weird Slaves to Darkness list where I was like sending out 6 Olgarith Theridons through it, Marcus Lanesh, so they have +2 to charge. And so they would charge you 7, and then all-out attack, +1 to wound from the spell. 2s and 2s just wreck your day.
Oh yeah, people use this with Slanesh Mark and War Shrine, right? That was a combo for a little while before War Shrine just fell out of favor. Which we were accurate about our War Shrine ranking, by the way.
Yeah.
Artorius and Rex in the chat. I wonder if Seraphon players will still try to use this to reel in the Oracle. I love
That's
that.
funny.
I love that phrasing. That like you're going
Funny.
fishing.
Yeah, they come back.
And just reel it back in.
Get back here.
That's fantastic. Yes, because okay, I guess that begs the question: do you think it's going to get cheaper? Do you guys think the spell will get cheaper now that it is significantly weaker?
I don't think so, because the I don't know.
I don't think it
we'll
should.
See if KO even has to pay for it.
I don't think it should.
I don't think it should.
Now?
Yeah.
80
I think
points.
it's
Looks
80.
like.
Yeah, 80.
Yeah, I think it should stay 80. I think it's
because it gives you a free chemist.
So if you're reeling in a Starseer, and the combo we're talking about here is you translocate them forward at the start of the hero phase, cast all your spells, start of the movement phase, you just teleport them back, which currently you can just do that with Tunnel Master once per game, so you don't need to use the Endless Spell. But next season, Tunnel Master's gone, so you're going to want to preserve that Starseer, and just dropping screens in front of them probably isn't enough to keep them alive. I could see it because assuming the Starseer saves 150, I don't know, it's kind of expensive. It's too cheap for a 2-spell wizard, but it's easier to reel him in than it is to bring another one. So probably I could still see that people using this. There's other ways for Seraphon to use this too, right? Like you can always translocate anything forward and then just teleport it back. There's a lot of janky stuff you can do.
Multiple units, yeah.
The limit of having to set up one part within an inch of the caster really limits what this can do.
That matters a ton.
Some huge jank that was possible with like vassal casting with a slan, and you would set up like one part over here and then another part on the other battlefield. No matter which objective your opponent went to, you could just immediately reinforce it and just summon stuff on top of it. Like, oh, it was gross. But yeah, you know what? I hope it doesn't get cheaper because teleporting is such an important faction identity thing. And it's central to these armies. I don't want it to be widespread. So I think these nerfs are good. I think it can stay maybe a 10-point drop, but it could stay 80 points and be
maybe. Yeah, it could be 80 points and still be worth its points.
Yeah. KO, we're still going to take it. Like it doesn't change anything there, right? Like
it
costs 0 points.
On like a lot of attack, because everything else they do is not command based for the Thunderer combo.
Yeah, they lose +1 hit.
They don't shoot anything with like a -1 to hit that well, but that doesn't matter for most time. Unless they're sniping heroes, it's not going to matter for them that much. They already 15 Thunders will delete what they want to delete typically.
Yeah, and you know, if there's good point changes to Caradron, they're probably not going to run 2x15 anymore. So 15 will go in an Ironclad. The other 15 won't go on a bridge because you won't have another 15.
Them pay for the spell. It's just a free chemist.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, moving on. Shards. I think like 3 people in the world have used this spell before. So let me explain what it does. We talked about this one during our Seraphon review, Caleb. I don't know if you had a chance to try it out, but
I haven't played them yet.
Okay, well, they're totally different now. Sorry. So what they used to do was you'd set up these 2 pieces, and every unit between them, you draw a line from the closest parts. Every unit that was tagged by that couldn't fly, couldn't teleport, and had half movement. So this was an incredibly strong control tool, and it comboed very nicely with the Jaws because they deal damage based off the movement characteristic. If you had half move, the Jaws could take a big bite. That's a combo I've enjoyed for all of 3rd edition, and that's dead because what the Shards do now is totally different. Instead of having a pulse effect, it's now just a 6-inch aura around them, and the aura disables a bunch of stuff. It doesn't have movement, but it still stops units from flying. It still stops them from teleporting in the same turn. But most importantly, it stops any unit from being set up within 6 inches of any part of the spell, which means no reserves, no zombies coming out of the gravesite,
3 inches away from you.
no summoning. Nothing can be set up within 6 inches of these guys, which is pretty huge right now. Think about Sylvaneth. You cast this, sorry, you can't come out of the woods. Stormcast can't deep strike there. Soulblight can't revive there. Seraphon can't teleport or summon there. Like, there's so many armies that are impacted by this. If the cost is cheap, this could definitely see a lot of play. It's a lot easier to use. It is wholly within 8 inches of each other instead of wholly within 12, so it's a little bit more limited, but the effect is just so much better. Yeah, I really like it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, gosh, 6 inches within any part. That's a huge aura.
Yeah, big aura. Yeah.
You could just put this near them.
What'd you say?
You don't even need to unbind Soul Screen Bridge. Just cast this and near them. Yeah.
Just like a toll they have to pay to get past.
This is like devastating against Beast of Chaos. This is so good.
Yeah, you can really stop them from getting to your.
Put like Archon on Soul Release, and you put this thing on like 2 separate on like another flank, and it's like cool. Have fun deep striking in your little.
If they didn't put a wizard on the table to heroic willpower, it's over.
Yeah.
So nasty.
Assistant ref saying they're freaking huge. Wholly within 8 inches can make it hard to cast it where you want it. To be fair, you're usually putting this in negative space, right, where you're expecting a deep strike.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really that crazy to have to position it.
Or if you want to stop units from teleporting, that's another use for it. Interestingly, the teleport, it says you can't use abilities that allow you to set up in the same turn. So if you have an ability that allows you to remove yourself from the battlefield and then, well, not in reserve because that's not like a thing, right? No, it is.
Going reserve. Yeah. It's going reserve.
But if you have an ability that allows you to teleport over 2 turns, you can still do that. Which I think it's just Hunters of Huanchi. I can't think of any other one.
Yeah, Brass Orb. I think is one way to do it.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's niche, but okay, it's there.
It's cool. Yeah,
utility spell, 40 points, playable.
Yep.
As long as Soulblight is top dog, I think it's very playable.
We'll see how long that lasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the win rate is
win
rate and play rate. Like they got both right now.
Yeah. All right, Louch on the Soul Seeker. 1 change. Thankful can't use it anymore.
Yeah, pretty much Thankful. Like, this is literally. Oh my gosh, that's so rude.
It could have just said units without the Thankful keyword.
No, I know, like, oh god, what's the name? There was another, I think there was one more person using
Drycha.
Drycha, yeah. Drycha was the main one, because she had a shooting attack, like, mass mortal wound-ish shooting attack, so.
Yeah, but that's a great change. That combo was stupid. I know externally it sucks, because Skaven are not the strongest army right now, and that was kind of one of the gimmicks they were leaning on. But
hopefully they get some other changes to make up for this, because it is a blow to an army that isn't doing like amazing. But maybe Hoarfrost and the other stuff.
It's like it's one of those things where like the nerf isn't needed, but at the same time it was not fun to go up against. Like, it's not fun to have a guaranteed Thankful in your face, doing what he's doing. So
this nerf is great because it means it's probably going to get cheaper, because Lauchon, if you recall, was a 30-point spell. Then people figured out the Thankful combo, and they immediately bumped it up to like 50. So if this gets 20 points cheaper,
that'd be cool. Yeah,
Evocators, baby.
Dracoline time. Let's go. Maybe Dracoline's gonna be 30 points cheaper. GW, come on, please.
They basically are if this gets cheaper, right?
I mean, yeah.
So hopeful for that. Good change overall. Okay, let's look at the battle tactics, because they are not as easy as before. Yeah, we were spoiled last season. We had 4 tactics that you'd score every single game, and you pick whatever random tactic you wanted for 5th if it ever went that long. Usually, yeah. Now we have 2 good tactics, maybe, and they're not easy by any means. So, oh boy. All right, let's go through them. First one: Intimidate the Invaders. Complete this tactic at the end of the turn if there's more friendly units wholly outside your territory than friendly units within your territory. So you're not scoring that round 1 usually, because it's pretty hard to move every single thing out of your territory. Some armies will, but like, how many support heroes are hanging back? And remember, it has to be wholly outside your territory, right? So like not even an edge of a model. It's rough. Most armies are going to struggle with this one, because even if, I guess, like you play a null deploy Beast of Chaos, because you don't have to pick units for this. If you have 0 units in your territory and you just drop 1 wholly outside your territory, you score it. So that's cool. But
yeah, it's rough. This is like a round 5. You've almost tabled your opponent, like win more, kind of thing. Honestly.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Late game, you're pushing forward with what you've got left.
This is a win more battle tactic. This isn't really like mid game or definitely not early game.
If you have one unit left on the table, you're about to lose, you can score it.
Let's go. Yeah, like
I like that you don't have to pick the units, right? A lot of these tactics require picking units at specific times. This doesn't, so it works with Deep Strike, which is cool. It's not that bad, but it's like, I don't know. It's hard to tell without the battle scroll and everything, but it's like,
this is
C tier maybe, something like that.
This is round 5. Yeah, it's C tier because you're only gonna do it in very specific situations. It's not that it's that hard to do in some of them. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not even that like the act of doing it is hard. It's like it's the opportunity cost of where you're positioning all those units. Like there's a lot of times you won't want to leave your territory. It's good to. For a lot of armies, it's good to sit back with specific units at specific times, and if you're being forced to move those units up, it's just risky. There's a lot of scenarios where opponents will just capitalize on that. It's doable.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say there are quite a few battle plans that don't have very big deployment zones, and I think on those, this one will be
easier. Yeah,
quite a bit easier. Especially if they're not, the deployment zone's not covering half the board.
Yeah,
and this one
you've
becomes
got
a little bit
mirrored 11-inch deployments, this is a little easier because you can still be on objectives and be outside of your territory, kind of thing. But it's not great. Maybe that puts it up to B tier, actually.
Maybe,
but
the ease of on some battle plans.
Even then, that can be an issue because if you move up, you're now getting in range of more things where you could have held back. There's opportunity cost going on.
It promotes aggressive play, which is good for the game. Right, you don't want the game to be slow, and methodical and control based. You want aggression versus aggression to be the normal. But I just play control, so I don't like
it. Yeah.
So, it's definitely a lot harder than every tactic we saw last season, except for the champion ones, right? Like this is no eye for an eye. This is not desecrate. This is tougher. Reprisal. Complete this tactic if the enemy unit that destroyed a friendly general earlier in the battle is destroyed this turn. So this works with War Masters. If you're running Bastion for some reason and he dies, you can score 2 tactics or 2 VPs for killing the unit that killed Bastion.
Bastion? Is he a War Master?
No, you're right. He's not. He's not even.
He's not. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Hang on. We were just talking about this the other day. How he's not a War Master, and it doesn't make any sense.
Or Arcan, or Catacross if you're playing Mortis Praetorians. Only Mortis Praetorians.
Any friendly general. So.
So yeah, generally, you don't want your general to die. Which armies do this? Orcs? If their Maw Crush is slain, they might pick this up.
Can go for that.
It's just like that unit has to be something you actually want to kill, and you're able to kill without overextending too much.
This
a lot of conditions.
Gonna be. I mean, this is the one that you're not really gonna purposefully go out to do.
No.
Like D.
This is you already know he's gonna die.
I'm trying to salvage some points in this game.
Yeah, because thing is, the friendly general was destroyed earlier in the battle, so it doesn't have to be that turn and all that stuff. But
that unit still has to be alive at the time you want to do the tactic.
And that's the other, it's niche.
And also,
it's definitely
now there's bookkeeping. You have to keep track of which units every unit destroyed. Yeah. That's so annoying. I don't like that. I'll have to make tokens like you killed the general, put a token next to them for the rest of the battle.
Yeah, I know, right? Tokens, yeah.
Yeah. Endless Expropriation. You pick an enemy unit that is controlling or bonded to a spell or incarnate, and if any of these conditions are met, you score the tactic. The enemy unit has been destroyed, so you just kill the thing it's bonded to. The spell is wild, the incarnate is wild, or you take control of it somehow. Usually, it's just going to be kill that unit. Right? But there is that spell that allows you Rupture, which allows you to make an endless spell go wild. But usually what you want to do is just dispel that spell. You don't want to try to cast a 10+ spell to make it go wild. The other way to make it go wild is just to kill the hero it's bonded to. So, like, pretty much you're just killing the hero, right? If your opponent brought endless spells in an incarnate, at some point in the game, you could score this for 2 victory points. Assuming you have the tools to kill that thing that it's bonded to. Usually they're pretty well protected. But maybe it's your general, and then once they kill your general, you can score reprisal. You know, like, I don't know. I'm really reaching here, guys. This is a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, and you're already going to make your incarnate wild yourself, right? So they can't even get that from you once you've made your incarnate wild.
Mm-hmm. And you also have to pick an enemy unit that means on the table. So what if they have like a reserve bonded hero? Because that's possible. Yep. Why not?
I liked doing that with the Imperator. That was pretty much my go-to.
Yeah. This is a rough one. I feel like endless spells are going to be popular enough. Stormcast might be like a B for Stormcast because we're really hurting for tactics. Yeah. Because we can just snipe heroes. Hopefully.
And would you, let's see, you would determine your battle tactic. Let's say
they find a tower immediately.
Well, and they have a chance to dispel endless spell, right? Would they dispel their own endless spell to prevent you from getting this?
Ooh, well, you'd have to do it at the beginning of the turn.
I don't know. So,
no, yeah, they would pick theirs, and then you could dispel.
No. You pick your battle tactic, and at the time you pick your battle tactic, they're a valid target.
Yeah, it's controlling. Yep.
Then at the start of, then it's their window to do start of hero phase stuff. In which case they can dispel it, sure, but it doesn't affect the battle.
But you can still kill the unit. Yeah.
Yes, true, because you pick the hero or whatever unit. It doesn't.
Yeah, the enemy unit has been destroyed. It's still there. Yeah, you're still good to go.
The wording on this. Is this because the next incarnate doesn't need to be bonded to a hero? Or is this like...
I don't know, because...
In case Storm Coven casts an endless spell or something.
I don't know, this is controlling or bonded, because controlling is... Or, bonded is specific to the incarnate, right?
Well, yeah, it's any incarnate, it's not just the Crown Spine. So that if there's a new incarnate, can it go on non-heroes, is what I'm saying? Maybe?
No, probably not.
I don't think so.
Alright. It's another rough one. Magical Dominance. This one is not what the name suggests. So it's not Magical Dominance, it's Magical Meekness. Okay, so you complete the tactic if a friendly wizard unit casts 1 or more spells and no spells by any units in your army were unbound. So let's say you're playing Seraphon and you declare this as your tactic and you have a bunch of units. You have your Slan out of unbinding range, that's pretty typical, but then your other wizards are vassals, they're in range to be unbound. The Slan casts a spell. Cool. Tactic secured. Do you cast any spells with any other wizards in case they unbind and cancel your tactic? Probably not, right? Especially with Primal unbinding. So this is like...
This is great for Stormcast, though. You just cast your Mystic Shield out of range.
Great for every army. Deploy 1 wizard out of unbinding range. Hopefully with Master of Magic or something just to make it even more reliable, or use your Primal dice. As soon as they force you to go first, Magical Dominance, Mystic Shield, no more spell casting. 2 VP, thank you. This is actually good for Stormcast. Terrible for Seraphon, terrible for Tzeentch, terrible for Lumineth. This is like really late in the game you're casting this one. There's no chance of an enemy unbinding you. Because you could fail the spell as well, right? That could be an issue.
Yeah, and you pick to do this before the enemy picks to go like Heroic Willpower.
Yeah.
So if they see this and even if they don't have a wizard up, they're still going to Heroic Willpower and Primal Dice to stop this.
It is a later game tactic, but in general, we don't rank those very highly because the first 3 rounds.
In my head, I was thinking turn 1.
No, this is a turn 1, or for some armies this is turn 1, or this is at the end of the game. There's not really much in between.
So that's not magical dominance to me. What if it's magical cowardice is what it is?
Yeah, cowardice.
Casting one spell with a wizard in the corner. Yeah.
Rough, I am so dominant.
It's not intended for the armies.
Casting Mystic Shield by myself. I'm so dominant.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people miss that second part of it where any spells cast by any units in your army are unbound. I think people miss that part when they think about this tactic. Magical Mayhem. Pick an enemy unit. Destroy it with spells. Cool. Yeah.
More Seraphon tactic.
I like that one.
It's making me lean into like Pendulum, Primal Blizzard with Lord Arcanum on Griff-Charger. Sweet. Locus, you're going second. You cast both. Just kill stuff.
Like if you can destroy 10 wounds worth you can do this. Like,
yeah,
most people will have a 10 wound screen. If you can destroy it, you're good.
You can also soften stuff up before you hit it with spells like Thunderbolt Volley or anything else in the hero phase that does mortal wounds, right? The Realm Shaper engine, other spells. So there's lots of play here. This one will make people lean into going for wizards, I think. Just with like these two tactics, is like, yeah, it's a wizard season. It's anti-wizard season, but you need wizards to be anti-wizard.
Yeah.
Which means if you're sniping wizards off, you are denying a lot of battle tactics.
Yep.
Bait and trap. Complete this tactic if 2 or more friendly units retreated and 2 or more different friendly units charged. So it can't be the same unit. You can't retreat and charge 2 units. So you need 4 units that are in a position, the right position. 2 of them had to have just survived the combat phase with an opponent. You have to start within 3 inches in order to be able to retreat.
What?
Unless you use telepathic summons and just teleport within 3 inches and then retreat immediately. Next level plays right there.
Yeah.
I think Ironjaws and Trolllight have the most play with this. Honestly.
Yeah, charging out of phase is important because it doesn't say in the charge phase, right?
Yeah.
It's just make a charge.
You can charge and then no, it has to be different units. You can't do the charge retreat pile in thing.
Yeah, it has to be 2 different units. Yeah, so if one unit does both, I think it only qualifies for 1. That's a good FAQ target right there. How many units does a Maw Crusher retreating and charging twice? Because it could. I guess you can't charge twice.
Ironjaws always hold some units back. They don't charge literally the whole army, so you can.
They always hold back.
Fight next turn if you get the double. Bring those Gorgarnas out. Send in the other Gorgarnas in, or like a Maw Crusher, whatever.
Yeah, Ironjaws actually does most of these tactics very well.
Fire Slayers is going to really do this well because Fire Slayers loves to retreat and rally and then charge in with other units. They always have like this, like 2 units are here, they retreat, and then the next line comes in and charges forward. Like they do this tactic already.
Like, with Grimwrath Berserkers, I would love this. It's like, okay, I'll retreat my Heart Guard, or I'll retreat, and I'll charge in my Grimwrath Berserkers into you.
Very cool.
It's
Assistant Ref does have this right though. More like bait and switch because you're never going to get
this. It's tough. It's tough for a lot of armies.
Yeah. We don't. Stormcast doesn't even break enough units to do
this.
How do you have more than 4 units in your army?
Yeah, like, what do you mean 4 units in combat? What game are you playing here?
Yeah.
Aether Wings, Libs, Chariots, like, I don't know.
We charged something and it didn't die?
Bro.
What do we do?
Aether Wings will survive a combat? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm just trying here. Led into the Maelstrom. Complete this tactic if 1 or more friendly heroes and 1 or more friendly battle line units both charged, and 1 of those units has to finish in combat.
Fun fact, these can be the same unit.
Yes, if you have a battle line hero
like a Gargant.
Like a Gargant or a Rune Sun on Magmadroth.
Or a Rune Sun on Magmadroth, yep.
What?
You can do this with the same unit.
Oh god, yeah, you're right.
Doesn't say different.
This is hilarious.
It doesn't say different.
This is great. Yeah, it doesn't say different. Yeah, you could do that, and you can pop the like the ward spell to stay alive to make sure that you're within. You kill something and then you pile into something else, tie them up. You can pop your ward if you need to.
This is like very opportunistic.
In the chat, regarding the previous deck, he said, I completed this with OBR. It wasn't that bad with retreat and charge. Now remember, it has to be different units that retreat and different units that charge. A unit that retreats and charges can't count for both. So you technically need 4 units total to do that tactic. So it's hard to do with OBR. They don't have a lot of units. And to retreat and charge, like, yeah, you can retreat and those count as 2 and you're not losing a lot of momentum, so it's good. But just remember, you need 4 units total to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Led into the Maelstrom. Battle line becomes more important. The problem is sticking around in combat, right?
You don't really want to
your enemy.
Yeah. The units that typically get stuck in aren't battle line for a lot of armies, right?
Hey man, Stormdrake Guard though, right? Agrodons. Those are the units that want to get in there and get stuck and start just grinding.
Saurus Warriors, I could see, but then if you have Saurus Warriors in combat at the start of the turn,
you throw in.
You want cold-blooded resilience, right? You want that instead. Like, there's other tactics you'd rather do. The fact that you also have to charge a hero in makes me think like monster heroes.
Yeah, monster heroes.
Not foot heroes. You don't want to be charging with foot heroes for this. In general, you don't want to be doing that.
And don't do too well in combat with this one. Because if you kill everything... Sorry.
You have to survive the combat yourself, but not kill your opponent, which you're doing a pinning maneuver. And like I said, there's not a lot of battle line pinning units or heroes that are like pinning units. Like maybe Celestin Prime and Yndrasta could do this. Like that's the
Hero's
type of
one of the
unit you want.
harder ones.
Yeah. Well,
you've got to really do some positioning where you charge the hero. You're not really relying on the hero's combat. You're just killing them with the battle line unit and then basically screening the hero and getting into like something like a screen that's next to the juicy target that you wanted to hit. That's pretty much the best way to do this.
It's not easy. The running theme with these battle tactics, they're not easy. Last one.
Oh, sorry, in chat, I was just saying, he's like, yeah, I know that. I used 4 units. Hey, man, more power to you. More power to you.
I didn't know OBR had 4 units in their army. Surround and Destroy. This one actually seems pretty doable, and it makes me lean towards stuff with teleports. Pick 3 different friendly units on the battlefield, complete this tactic. If all of those units are wholly within 6 inches of a different battlefield edge, and 2 of those units are wholly outside your territory. So the wholly outside your territory, that part sucks on a lot of battle plans. But on most of them, it's okay. Most of the good ones, it's okay. They're either like quarter deployments or they're like 11-inch Dawn of War style deployments. Like it's not hard to get them wholly outside your territory. The problem is you're putting 2 different units on opposite sides of the battlefield, probably nowhere useful in this middle section here where you want to be doing stuff. So it has to be a unit that can either really quickly get back to where it needs to be, or is just a throwaway unit that you don't care what it's doing, like Corvus Cabal or something like this. Is like Desecrate on
man.
Yeah, sure. This is Desecrate on ultra hard mode. It's super hard Desecrate. It requires 3 units instead of 1.
Well, it only really requires 2 to do it. It's just you pick 3. You have to have 3 units on the battlefield.
No, each of those units is wholly within 6 of different battlefield edge. So one unit has to be.
Oh, it is each of those. 2 or more outside. Yeah, my bad.
And that's another distinction there. It can't be units in reserve or units that are dead. So
pick units on the battlefield.
That one really hurts it. It's still one of the better tactics though on this list. Honestly,
you can set this up like for your next turn. You know, this is a great, if you think you are playing into a double turn, set this up from like reserve units. If you have reserve units that don't need to be in combat, that can be on the side of the board, etc., etc. You can set these, you can set this up to score easily on your next turn if you're coming in from reserve.
Yeah, it's very telegraphed, and your opponent could just like, you've put a unit that could be useful somewhere on the battlefield, somewhere useless. Usually it's like a screen or chaff unit or something. They're just gonna, I don't know, walk over and kill it, and then score it themselves. So yeah, it's tough. Overall, these are tough tactics. Like
these are tough.
Like Gargants just doesn't do that last one. They pretty much don't do any of the wizard ones, right? Maybe the ones
they do let into the Maelstrom well.
Yeah,
they do. Maybe Magical Mayhem at the beginning of the game.
Maybe
or Magical Dominance.
Yeah,
Dominance.
Reprisal I can see them doing because they lose their general all the time.
Yeah, they go pretty fast. Intimidate the Invaders is another one.
It's tough to get wholly outside your territory when you're using Gargants because they got those big bases.
Depends on the battle plan, but they also want to use their. This is the thing, like this book or this set of tactics screams use your book tactics, which is not great. Because, well, book tactics are not balanced.
No. The newer your book, the better your tactics are usually.
Let's hope they errata so you can't use book tactics.
But I just got mine.
That would make this a really hard season, though.
Or make it like a max 1 per game or something. I don't know. They've made a lot of other great changes to kind of flatten the power curve. I hope they do something about book tactics too. We probably won't see it in this GHB. No. If I had to guess, it would be like a next GHB kind of thing. See where everything shakes out. If there's any overperformers,
maybe like a winter thing. If they see like
if they care enough, we'll be going to 4.0.
Yeah.
I don't see us getting a lot of effort in the December one just because that's so close to 4th edition. It'll probably be like, whatever. Like they did 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. Yeah. Oh, sorry guys, we don't have enough data. So Seraphon is going to dominate the game.
Oh man.
All right.
That was good.
Let's look at the grand strategies. Also a lot tougher. When the battle ends, if you have 2 or more friendly wizards wholly within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield. That's definitely a win more for some armies. And having to be wholly within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield is pretty rough. If you're Tzeentch or Lumineth, yeah, sure. But Tzeentch is not going to pick it because they just summon a chicken or use Destiny dice, whatever their easy grand strategy is. I always confuse that with the tactic. It's the Destiny dice tactic, right? They're not.
Yeah, there's a lot of just have or whatever.
Yeah. So these are basically for any army that's not using a super easy one from their book. And I don't know if this one makes the cut for that purpose.
Not really. It's fine. Yeah. It's to win more. It's basically like, I don't know. Not even take what's there from last season.
When the battle spellcasting savant, make your Locus is a general and is alive. That's a lot more manageable.
That's tough.
No, it's a lot more manageable.
Yeah, I like this one.
Keeping one unit alive versus keeping at least two wizard units alive and putting them in a specific spot. This seems a lot easier. It's a lot easier to keep one support hero in the back alive.
Easier than control the Nexus, but I'm not sure if that's the easiest or very easy, even considering the rest of these.
No, it's not the easiest.
I don't mind this one from Seraphon because I've got plenty of Source Guard that would like to see the table. So this will help keep my Slaanesh alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
All right, Slaughter of Sorcery, kill all the wizards, including your own.
Let's go. Send him in.
Now this is great because if you play against like KO or Gargants, you just get it. There you have no wizards, you just get it. So easy. But you also have to have no wizards. So I don't think that's worth it.
It's kind of.
I think you'll see some armies take this.
Yeah, some armies will.
I mean, you can definitely kit into killing wizards and make it a viable strategy.
Fire Slayers doesn't have. Well, Fire Slayers also doesn't have a lot of projection, so they may not be able to kill all the wizards sometimes.
Fire Slayers also has the easiest grand strategy in the game because no army except Stormcast can interact with it.
No one at Stormcast can stop. Corn now, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, they still just get that. Baron Icescape. When the battle ends, complete this if all units that have artifacts are destroyed and there are no enemy units within 6 inches of the battlefield.
All enemy. This one does say enemy at least.
Yeah. So why does it have both of these? Because it could have been one or the other, and that would have been fine. But the fact that you have to do both is it's kind of rough, right? I guess you could shoot heroes now. There's no champions, so like they can't just hide an artifact of power in the corner or something.
Generally, for taking an artifact, it's a useful thing you want to be using. Yeah.
Controlling the 6 inch of the center, it's not wholly within center. So if they just like the edge of the base piles into range or something, yeah, it's over. So I'm not a fan of that. The person going last in the game can very easily deny this, and I'm usually not a fan of battle tactics or strategies like that. When the battle ends, complete this. Overshadow, sorry. Complete this if all enemy battle line units are destroyed, and there is at least one friendly battle line unit from your starting army on the battlefield. That's great. It's also starting army, so you can't just summon your way out of it. Mm-hmm. So probably the default pick for a lot of armies. Destroy all the enemy battle line, keep one of your battle line alive. That's a reasonable cost, right?
Yeah.
Especially
that's probably the easiest one. Yeah. This is my dragon battle tactic or grand strategy.
Yeah, just keep a redeemer in the corner on an objective.
Or like Stormdrake card.
Is there a use case for Skybolt Judicators with this?
Points, man. Yeah. It comes down to that. It's not really
Yeah, well, Battle Line looks a lot more useful for grand strats and tactics. So, Hammers of Sigmar, S tier, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as usual. As usual. Yeah. Dracoths are good.
Magic Made Manifest. When the battle ends, there are two or more endless spells or incarnates on the battlefield, controlled or bonded to friendly units.
Two incarnates? What? Oh, or incarnates. Okay.
Yeah, or endless spells, yeah. I mean, it's kind of tough.
Even if you bring an incarnate, I wouldn't use this.
You want to rupture it, and you want to send that bad boy out there.
Yep. And enemies can rupture, enemies can dispel. I joke that the Kronspine is immortal, and it feels like it, but it's not. It can die.
And it's like they gotta die by the end of the battle, but it's gonna do its job. That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, not super sold on this one, honestly.
Yeah, it's too easy to dispel one endless spell on the very last turn and cause this one to
especially
fail.
With primal dice, the spelling is easier than ever.
This is Yeah, Yeah, your opponent just takes the last turn, like goes second on the last turn, and there's nothing you can do. You're just out.
Or yeah, they just dispel it in your turn, and you can't even recast it.
Yeah.
So they get 2 dispel attempts because they can either do it in your turn or their turn. So
Yep,
it's rough, man.
Yeah,
that's rough. Overall, I think Overshadow is going to be my pick for the most part, and then Spellcasting Savant if I take a Locus General. Give it a Mirror Shield if it's like an Incantor or something, you know? That's doable.
Yeah, it's fine.
Stormcast heroes are generally not high priority targets, and Seraphon heroes are usually pretty well protected, so that does seem doable.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk battle plans. And you guys can notice a gradual decline in quality. We're coming up to 3 hours, so I don't know how much time we want to spend on these. So I guess we could just point out things like scoring, positioning, number of objectives, deployments, things like that. People can feel free to take screenshots at this point and take a look at these for yourselves later. Geomantic Pulse is cool, right? Either A or B activates, and then it just moves across the battlefield. And the scoring is very different every single round. I think it's like max 3 on first turn, and then 6, and then 7, and then back to 3, something like that. It's pretty neat.
This is cool.
Yeah, it's easy for tournament organizers to set up. Long deployment, 22 inches. You're going to see a lot of this 22-inch deployment.
It's a little annoying to set up for, actually, but yeah, because it's like across the line. You want terrain to be kind of away.
There's space. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Standard scoring: score 1, score 2, score more. Tactic. Nope, not in this one. This one is score 1 if you have 1, score 2 if you have the pulse, score 1 for each one adjacent to the pulse, and then tactic. So weird, but I like it. I think it's one of the better ones. I think it's definitely playable.
Cool. Favorite the mobility, that's always good.
One thing I did notice, I was going through all these battle plans, and I noticed that we do have, on average, more objectives in this GHB than in the previous one.
Especially on the good battle plans, which, like I said, they tend to kind of just get worse. Like the first 6 are good, and then it's downhill from there. So, yeah, they're further spread apart too. That's an important thing. 22-inch deployments means 10-inch move units are not charging turn 1 anymore, not reliably, because people just redeploy away from that if they somehow get within 9 inches, right? So, pretty good. I'm happy about that. I play long-range stuff.
And there couldn't possibly be a battle plan where you could set up any closer than that.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, no. Yeah. No, never. Why would they do that? That would just break the mold.
Nexus Collapse. Okay, so this one, the player going second, or no, sorry, not the player going second. The player with less victory points destroys 2 objectives every round.
Yeah, this one's funny. I like this one. This is so cool.
Because if you're going second, if you have less victory points, you could be going first in the round, which means you take a commanding position, and if you get double turned, you just blow up 2 more objectives.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you now start to limit yourself on how many victory points you can score.
But if you're down by 1, if you're down by 1 going into round 2, that's a big advantage because you can just blow up potentially 4 objectives. Playing into an enemy double turn, it's cool. I don't know how. I don't know. I've never liked this like burn objective, multiple objective thing, like Scorched Earth style. I want to play it. I want to see it.
This is a good one. Yeah, this is going to be cool. There's a lot of skill expression on this one, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of mortal wounds that can happen. It's on a 4-up, so it's not like super crazy.
Oh, you got hit by an educator stare.
The gaze of Sigmar half the time.
Yeah, it's good. It's not bad. Let me put it that way. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Some really bad ones. Lines of communication. This is the most standard battle plan we've ever seen. Like 3 objectives. The only gimmick here is that you can sometimes make enemies pay 1 additional command point in 1 phase of the game.
1 phase. Yeah, I was like, okay, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, so like the person going second picks a phase, and every time the opponent uses a command in that phase, on a 3-up, they have to spend more command points to do it. So it's mini Total Eclipse. So you pick the phase that's most beneficial to you, Maybe it's the movement phase to stop enemies from redeploying. Maybe it's the hero phase because they have.
For sure.
If you're playing OBR, it's always the hero phase or movement phase, right? Like,
dude, but then you're like on this battle plan and you actually do get total eclipsed and you're just like, what?
Is that going to cost you 4 command points to do that? If...
I
think additional would be 3. Yeah,
it's 3.
It's
Yeah, it's
3,
just 3.
okay.
It's additional. Yeah. It's not doubling. It's
so.
If I roll a 3, you're not doing anything.
I honestly, I don't like this gimmick. It requires too much bookkeeping. It just disrupts the game for no purpose. It's random without, like, it's not risk reward. It's just risk, right? And it's not strong enough to make you feel like going second is a really fun, good choice to make. Like a lot of other battle plans where you got to like destroy objectives or do other cool stuff. This one's kind of lame. But aside from that, it's the most basic battle plan possible. So you're going to see a lot of it at tournaments.
I could see going second if I have my defenses up against some things. Like if I'm playing OBR and I have a bunch of Mystic Shields or whatever up, it's like cool.
Oh, well, yeah, but you'd be going second anyway. This doesn't sway you in any particular direction.
You're doing great.
The double is what I meant.
It's not like Prize or Jaws. Those were fun. Those were great. Felt great to go second. Even after winning the priority roll, you're like, I'll give it to my opponent. They can double me, sure. You know?
Yeah,
great.
you would never pick second if just for this.
No.
So,
yeah.
And because it's so random and weak, you probably forget about it. Just ignore it. Every step is forward. So this one,
love this one.
If a unit charged, each model counts as one additional model. And it's also got this funky deployment. And if a unit retreats, it can't contest objectives.
Love this battle plan. This is yes. This is exactly what was needed.
How many times have we said that retreat and charge is one of the best abilities in the game? Precisely because it lets you do objective play that you couldn't do otherwise. And like flying retreat and charge is the most insane ability in the game.
Yep.
This is like, nah, don't worry about it. Like just
This
stick a knife in OBR's back. Oh my god.
Nighthaunt doesn't need another kick, but I guess,
Oh my god, yeah, what does Nighthaunt
I
do
like
here?
Nighthaunt is like, alright, well, whatever. I'm not sure, like, I still wouldn't classify this as like a faction hate, but I'm sure Nighthaunt players do not like this.
Well, I think it's hate against Nighthaunt. I think OBR less so, because OBR will either kill whatever they're in combat with, or they're okay being stuck, unless they're Cavaliers Death Riders.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't like that it hates Nighthaunt so much. Like, I don't like any battle plan that really pinpoint targets certain mechanics in certain armies. But this one seems more, because every army can retreat, right? It's not like a mechanic that's unique to them. It's not like one that shuts off reserves, which not every army has reserves, right? So it's like if you have a no reserve battle plan, that just really sucks. This is more on the acceptable side because every player retreats. It's a core part of the game.
It's really good against... I understand that it's hating on Nighthaunt, but it's really good against things like the armies that 4-up rally. So like Fire Slayers retreating out of combat just so they can 4-up rally and get more models on the objectives. And Soulblight Gravelords, which all they do sometimes is retreat.
Gargants.
Gargants, poor Gargants.
But if they charge, they count as +1. 21.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I like this.
Yeah, this looks great for big hordes because they're gonna count as 60 on the objective now.
The deployment is also great. I love that we're seeing more spread out battle plans. Like there's not a lot of models you can fit in these tiny little slits because it's more than 9 inches from the enemy territory. So you're looking at less than 2 inches of space between in that little deployment zone. So the central conflict will be all about these 2 center objectives, but then you'll have flanking units that come in and try to contest these other 2 border objectives. So this is going to be. This is one of my early favorites, I think.
This one's cool. Yeah, I definitely don't like the Nighthaunt hate, but it's... we'll see.
I just like Draculines counting as 3 models each. Limited resources. So is this Lumineth hate? Is this Stormcast hate? Seraphon hate?
I don't know. This is a castle hate for sure, but
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they even went this far. Because like this is a pretty in-depth mechanic that you have to think about.
Yeah, so let's
plan.
explain this. Short version is you can't control the same objective the whole game. After controlling the same objective 2 turns in a row, you can't control it anymore for the rest of the game.
Just you, not the
Just
other
you.
player.
Yeah.
Just you.
So
Yeah.
Ideally, what you want to be doing is taking objectives away, like letting your opponent take them.
It kind of teaches you how to play the game.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. There's also 6 objectives, and look at that deployment, and look at that objective spacing. Beautiful. I love how spread this is. After a season of everything in the middle, those corner objectives are beautiful to me.
And even where you deploy is going to matter a lot, because if you deploy on that objective on the bottom and you keep controlling it, because here's the thing, objectives are sticky in AOS.
Mm-hmm.
So you are going to continue to control that if you deploy on it, and you don't necessarily want to.
Oh yeah,
it's all going to be a big game.
For one battle round, you're not getting it for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Picture scenarios where you control an objective at the start of the game, and you just move off it immediately, and you're basically telling your opponent that if you come take this objective from me, you are giving it back to me later this game. For the rest of the game, I'm going to score this because you took this from me.
The mind game.
So cool.
Yes, this is such a neat battle plan.
But it's definitely Lumineth hate. Because
dude,
that's how they win the game. They win the game by sitting in one position and shooting stuff and then eventually moving out. But that takes like 3 or 4 turns.
And
Seraphon.
I haven't played this one yet. This is one I'm looking forward to playing because it's such an odd dynamic of
all I want to say
please take this back from me. Now I'm gonna take it back from you. Come on, can you come take this one, please?
Yeah, come on, it's juicy, it's free. Oh man. I just, to all like the TOs out there, please don't put this on round 5. I don't need this on like 5th round. I don't want to think this much, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking involved in this. Quite a few of these battle plans actually, which
this one I think has the most like big brain aspect to it, I think.
Aside from that, there's nothing going on.
No, there's not, but it's so cool. What it has is plenty. Mm-hmm. Absolutely plenty.
Yep. I like it. I really like it.
Yeah, this is cool. This is honestly, this is my favorite one.
See, this is whenever I say we should get rid of battle tactics, it's because we could have cool battle plans like this all the time, and we wouldn't need battle tactics.
Actually, you're right.
Yep.
Because I think, if you can limit primary scoring to be as consistent as it is, I don't think you would need battle tactics that much.
Nope. Just have grand strategies as your tiebreaker. Easy. Anyway, Spring the Trap. Looking at like a presence over, or no, power over position type deployment.
Position over power, but yeah.
Position over power, thank you. And it's a very standard battle plan, like the other ones. Very far spread objectives, right? We're looking at if you deploy a unit wholly within 6 inches of a table edge, like Vanguard Hunters, they can contest these objectives. And what's cool is that you can outflank, which is a very poorly worded ability.
Horribly. Absolutely horribly.
I think what the intent is that each player removes D3 models from their army.
Yeah.
But
from the battlefield.
The way it's currently worded is each player removes D3 units from the table. So you can pick units. So your opponent picks your sland there, Caleb. You're not casting spells round 1. Sorry, buddy.
No, and here's the other thing, is you also pick when they set up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and it says you can set up those units in reserve.
Yeah, so you don't have to.
Bye-bye, they die.
I think I'm gonna wait till turn 4. Yeah.
Those 4 dragons you put down? Nah. You just, army.
Surely the intent is that it has to be units from your own army.
Yeah.
So expect that errata. And if that errata is in place, this is a great battle plan.
Yeah. Other than that, I'll never put this in a pack if it doesn't get fixed. But obviously, I mean, come on.
It would just be like, who rolled a 3? Okay, I'll kill 3 of your units before
that Mega Gargant, that Mega Gargant, and that Mega Gargant. Okay, I gotta find a Sons of Bahamut player right away. And oh boy.
Spring the trap on him, right? Spring the trap on him.
Spring the trap. We're playing Spring the Trap. That's the one. That's the trap.
Got him.
Okay.
Oh man.
Aside from that, it looks great. Honestly, I think.
Yeah, this is neat.
This is, I think, what Nidus Path should have been all along.
Mm-hmm.
We can't assume intention. We can only play raw. You're right, buddy. That's why.
Only raw.
That's why I have to go find a Gargant player right away.
Oh man, pay him back for all the season 3 stuff.
Fountains of Frost. So again, long deployments, 22 inches, 6 objectives. right? Which is awesome. I love this. Huge
Big
deployment, 6 objectives. They're all spread out. The gimmicks here are that Locus count as 10 models. And anytime you have an objective contested by 3 or more units, on a 4-up, take D3 mortals.
This is cool.
I like this.
What I like about this is that you can't just have
Punishes
like
MSU.
perfect castle formations anymore, right? Because you can't just be taking 4-up D3 mortal wounds on your heroes in the battle shock phase. Also worth noting, it's at the start of each battle shock phase, so this will contribute to the battle shock if you lose models to it.
Yep.
Scoring is score 1, score 2, score more, battle tactic. That's it. It's just like Locus count as 10, 6 objectives, very standard battle plan. This is definitely going to see play.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Murgonk, how do you deploy like Volkite MSU spam on this map? Like, how do you deploy? You have to be so careful.
Like, avoid objectives. You just avoid them. You just deploy them in the middle.
You just
I
take.
don't think Volkites will see play anymore because they don't have 2-inch reach and Galatian Vets is gone.
Yeah,
the
veterans.
Right,
yeah, you just take the D3 and you rally.
Well, they were playing MSU Volkites anyway.
That was bad.
I don't know, man.
I liked it.
The 30 Volkites has teeth, but Galatian Vets is gone, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's all over. Okay, Fountains of Frost, thumbs up. I like it.
Yeah. This is good. Plus, we've had some time. We haven't had like 6 objective battle plans in a while. This like punishes like the castle, highly elite castle army.
Yeah.
Every time we talked about castle armies needing speed and fast units to come out, it's because battle plans used to look like this. This used to be the norm in AOS before Season 2, made everything central and like 4 or 5 objectives max, right? 6 spread, that was the standard. So I'm glad we're getting back to it. More tactical play involved than just pile in phase.
I think a third of the battle plans have six objectives on them.
Yeah,
so.
Look at these. So we got starting here. We got basically 3, right? 2 to 3. Let's say that. Then we got a 6er on Nexus Collapse, and then we got a 3 on Lines of Communication, 4 on Every Step Forward, 6 on Limited Resources, 3 on Spring the Trap, 6 on Fountains of Frost. And these are what I'm calling the good. I think these are
next one is divisive.
The next 3 are divisive, I think. They're divisive enough that they won't be common, but they are not bad. So starting off with the ice fields, 6 objectives, which is awesome. Objective spacing here is awesome, and it's also this kind of like vertical, horizontal deployment, which is awesome. I love all of these things. I love all of them.
This is cool.
Except for the fact that every time a unit runs, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. And every time every time you roll a 1 in your charge, you suffer D3 mortal wounds. And that's great. I hate both of these things because they are unnecessarily punishing to any army that does run in charge. Like it's just nonsense. It's too punishing. This is far more punishing to far more armies than retreats not counting as not contesting objectives. So that's my opinion.
It's about the same, honestly.
If you roll a 1 on your charge, you have a -2 to your run, and if you roll a 1 on the charge, you get a -2 to your charge.
There's other ways to get around it. I just think if I want to run in charge, if I want to use my core ability in my army that it's all balanced around, I have to suffer D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think this hates run in charge as hard as the other one hates retreat in charge. That's the thing. Is I think this is on par. I think this is on par.
Okay,
yeah,
that's fair.
With Every Step Forward.
I don't think this is too egregious.
Okay. I think the other one's worse because every army retreats for tactical purposes. Not every army runs for aggressive purposes, right? That's why.
I would still count this as good.
Fair. I don't personally. That's why. I wrote the slides, so editorial power.
Fair.
The thing is, like, it basically means because people aren't just running and charging. People also run as a way to pin people or get on.
And that purpose, I think it's awesome, right? I would love it if it was at the end of the turn, if you didn't charge, if you ran. Cool. I'd be down with that. If you're running for tactical purposes, not for aggressive damage-based purposes, like if you're not charging off it, punishing that run is cool. But punishing run as a core mechanic in armies that needs a run and charge, I think that sucks. And I don't think that feels very good.
Yeah, the 2d3 mortal wounds is going to feel bad.
Sure.
Yeah. It hurts those glass hammers like Raptidons that want to run and charge, and you could lose more than half the unit before you even
be like an enemy ability.
Ooh,
yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah. So as long as that FAQ is there, which I think it is, then this would
we should be
make
fine.
it 1.
Cool.
Okay,
cool.
I'm back. Is the stream back? Chat, help me out.
Oh, the stream went away.
My internet died for a second there.
We had a whole conversation about Gotrek while you were gone.
Okay.
Alright,
That's
Well,
funny.
It must have been a short conversation if it was about him. But
Yep.
Okay, chat, let me know if we're back. We can keep going. We got to talk about these terrible, terrible battle plans. So
Oh,
bad.
dude, I hate this.
Okay, one sec. One sec, guys. Discord crashed. I'll be right in.
Alrighty.
Okay. Sorry about that. Discord crashed. Oh, man. Fun. Some kind of electrical storm or something happening outside.
Oh, dude, we have a ton of lightning right now outside. It's massive.
We will push forward regardless. Okay. Here we go. Turn my camera back on. Okay. Hopefully everybody is still with us. We're still streaming, right? We're good. All right.
Yeah, you just came back on, so we're good. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Next one here is Power Flux.
You ran and charged.
Oh, jeez.
POV, you ran and charged.
This is why it's a terrible battle plan, all right? I win this argument.
Thanks, assistant ref. That was good.
Okay. Power Flux. So, okay. I will say I like the core rule here, right? So you either have the A objectives active or you have the B objectives active. That's really cool because it's an even number. You can never have more objectives than your opponent unless you control all objectives. So you're either scoring 5 or you're scoring 3, which I think is pretty cool. Now the problem is that
there's one line in here.
Do you want to say it?
Horrible. So you get points for just killing wizards. Like, come on, this is so horrible.
Yeah, scoring.
Oh gosh.
Because if you control a victory point with a locus, you score a bonus point, right? So it's control 1, control 2, control with a locus. I hope you brought one, otherwise you lose. Straight up, like you don't have a wizard, you just lose because even if you score a point for killing a wizard every single turn, they're just going to score more points than you. Until like by the time you kill all their wizards, they'll have scored enough that you literally can't win. And that's terrible. Like Khorne hate, KO hate. So many armies are hated by this.
Yeah, because you'd have to kill a wizard every turn. Like it.
Yes,
man, that's not easy
over
to do.
Like max 5 points. Whereas if you control objectives with an Andtorian Locus, you're scoring at least 5 points because because it's for each objective you control, right? So you could control both objectives with a Locus and score more than 5 points, and that's just terrible. It feels so bad, right?
Yeah.
But it gets worse because it created a stupid argument about whether or not wizards count as wizards when they die. If they don't have the key, like, do evocators count as wizards when they die? And this one stupid line of text created like a whole afternoon of arguing, and I will resent it forever for that.
Yeah, just no. This is honestly in the ugly for me.
It's pretty bad. I like the basic battle plan. If you just make it score 1, score 2, score more, or whatever, like standard scoring on this.
Yeah, and then just flip the AB, right? Like
that's a cool concept.
Do the one mechanic, right?
Yeah, it's this whole wizard hate for some reason, but not really because it's wizard love.
Like wizard love hate.
Locus in particular, you have to use
it.
Locus. So
yeah, but I feel like it's more wizard hate because if you have more Andtorian Locus, you have way more points to give.
Kind of, and it is true. You have to. Well, that's the thing. Is like you do get a point for each objective for each Locus, but the objectives change. So
yeah.
It can even out, but that's the thing is like this is so RNG that it's just not. It's not really a fun competitive map.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Well, okay.
That's what it comes down to.
There's a lot of stuff I like about it, right? I like the player going second having an impact on the battlefield. That's awesome. Love it whenever they do stuff like that. I like the 2-2 mechanic. That's cool. It's just this wizard thing. Drop that, and this is a good battle plan.
Yeah, this is fine. This is cool. Yeah.
Does B ever get chosen?
Oh yeah.
No. So Yeah. You could
Because
change it so that if you're going second, you're gonna pick whatever's better for your situation.
Mm-hmm. So what's good about what you're asking, I guess, is when would people pick B?
Yeah.
It's when you want to stop your opponent from scoring their home objective, force them out of their territory.
Yeah, if they're playing a castle and you're kind of pushed up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So within like the bottom of the turn, you had set up well on Bs. They get priority. You pick B to be activated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
something like that.
Come out of your zone and get me. Yep.
I got you.
Again, really punishing castles. That's what they want to do. They've been noticing a lot of castle armies apparently.
Well, yeah, Lumineth, right? The kind of castles I play are far more mobile.
Lumineth, Slaanesh,
Isn't it weird that Slaanesh turned into a castle army? A shooting castle?
It's a shooting castle. Yep, exactly.
So weird.
Yeah, very fast.
Okay.
You could say in some ways like KO is a castle army. It's just entire castle teleports and then it just stays.
Or uses a bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is bad. It's like some parts of it are ugly, some parts of it are good. So it averages out to bad. Frigid Zephyr, I think, has the same thing going on, where very standard deployment. We've seen this a million times now. The gimmick here is that you can't see units unless they're within 12 inches. And there's a chance.
Though,
there's a random chance that it just goes away every turn. So sometimes you play the most basic battle plan ever because you roll a 6 in round 1, and other times the whole game you're not playing any amount of range damage.
Anymore.
Yeah. There's a lot of other weird things that happen if you can't see things more than 12 inches away. You can't set up spells, endless spells. Usually they need to be visible. If you can't set it up within range and it's visible,
well,
how does that work?
The point has to be visible. It's not the same thing.
No. I'm saying if you set up an endless spell and it has to be set up such that it's visible,
you can't do it.
Right. So that's another.
Whoa! Endless spells aren't units though. It's units that aren't visible to each other.
But the endless spells require being set up to be visible.
Yeah. You can still see points on the map. It's only units that are not visible.
Oh, so you couldn't. It stops all the stuff like you can't like affect. Like if you have a buff spell that's like wholly within 18, you can't do it like outside of 12.
Yeah. As long as that unit is outside of 12.
So yeah, I don't like arguments about line of sight. Age of Sigmar has very poor line of sight rules to begin with. Any battle plan that restricts line of sight, first off, is really bad for any army that relies on range damage. Like Lumineth just lose.
Cruel Boys also is just not feeling good at all. This is Caradron. Do they really care that much? 12 inches?
I mean,
okay, yeah, they use the 18.
It means they shoot your screen. You could literally have a 10 dude screen strung out and be like, all right, all your shooting can only see this.
And it's just bad. I think this is honestly, this should have been like the worst, one of the worst.
Could have been 18. 18 would have been more reasonable, I think. If the like, I get it. Shooting is prevalent. They want to test the waters to see if anti-shooting battle plans are cool. I don't think it's good though. Like, it just affects some armies so much.
This is very polarized on that one.
Yeah, not a fan. And the map isn't interesting enough, really. It's got nothing special aside from that, right? It's a very basic map. If you get rid of the gimmick, you wouldn't play it because it's not that interesting.
This is bad design.
I can see some TOs including this because they just hate shooting or something.
But that's like, dude, come on! Like, you're gonna put this in the pack, really?
They had no reserve battle plans for the same reason. Some TOs just hated reserves and they put them in.
Yeah, I never understood that.
It should be a study of your generalship to operate without reserves or something.
Hey, if all you play is Storm Drakes and Tempesters, this is not a problem.
Yeah.
This is a great map.
You can play Comet. They're not visible, but
or Comet Call. You don't have to carbon. Yeah, you don't have to target anything.
All right, here we go. The ugly. No reward without risk. So why I hate this one in particular. First, it has a cool setup. I like the 5 objectives on a star with these corner deployments. That's neat. But why I put this in the ugly is the feedback overload. When a wizard is slain, before moving that model, on a 4-up, it explodes and deals D3 mortal wounds to everything in range. The range equal to its wound characteristic.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I love this. I don't know why you put this in the ugly.
Because, again, arguments about evocators. But also, that's just incredibly random amounts of damage, which can cause chain reactions that will just kill everything on the battlefield.
But this is hilarious. I love this.
I don't think it's good for tournament play. That's why it's ugly. I'm going to play it in casual pub nights or whatever. Fine. It's going to be hilarious.
I think if Icefield is fine, this is fine.
Icefield's not fine.
Wait, why is this bad?
I don't think it's bad. I honestly don't think so.
Here's another reason it's bad, because of the deployment. There's no range that you don't have to stay away from.
That's why it's ugly. It's bad on its own merit, but then for some reason it doesn't specify how far away from enemy territory you have to be, so you can deploy right up to that center point right there in the middle.
Yeah, but that's also kind of fun too.
No,
for some armies.
No.
You just start the game in combat. Hey, you get that tactic for retreating with 2 units right away.
Yeah, you can just do it right away. Yeah. Gotrek is gonna enjoy this map.
Yeah.
Gotrek intensifies.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like we've been seeing some interesting. I think this one is. It's not ugly. It's just not interesting.
I just don't know if this one's intentional or not.
I mean, it seems to be right because like 9 inches away, but it really rewards. Like we've been seeing plans that really mess with castle formations. This one rewards it because you just hold the middle 3 and you're good, right?
Assistant Ref points out, not a fan of overlapping objectives. The objectives are a bit too close. I can agree with that. I don't like when objectives are overlapped. Yep.
Makes it hard to use the nice circles.
Yep.
Because they overlap each other.
Yeah.
This was definitely intentional though, because they obviously copy paste a lot of things. And
yeah, there's no reason for this. Their process must be so bizarre if this was a mistake.
Yeah, this was intentional.
All right, you guys ready for the last one?
My god, this one makes me angry, irrationally angry.
Dan, take us away.
No. I refuse to talk about this plan. This plan will never see play.
It's going to take a while to dissect just how bad this is, and we're only skimming the surface of the terribleness of this. So, concept here is we're playing a wizard season. We should have wizard towers. We should have a battle plan that gives you a tower in your territory that you want to score victory points with. That's the starting point for the discussion. It's a cool factor, right?
This is a Path to Glory battle plan.
And then let's look at
here?
The implementation. So, it's 2 objectives. 2 objectives. That's god-awful. Score 1, score 2, score tactic. So max 4 points per turn. At the end of the game, if you are controlling your own wizard tower, if you're garrisoning it,
wizard tower,
you get 2 victory points, right? And if there's nothing garrisoning the enemy tower, you score 2 points. So it's a 4-point swing, right? 4 points for you, 4 points for your enemy, 8 points total. Now, that's all well and good. I can even get over the 2 objectives thing. Probably. I hate playing 2 objectives. It's the most boring thing in the world because there's nothing happens. No. You set up this way, I set up this way, we kind of just fight in the middle, and whoever wins gets the whole game. Right? It's boring. Why this is ugly, though, is because the process of choosing a wizard tower is terrible. You have to pick defensible terrain features or faction terrain features in your territory. Now, there is a core rules clause that says the only way to control a defensible territory, the only way to control something that's defensible is to be garrisoning it. So if you don't have models that can garrison something, like if you have all monsters or something, you just can't do this. You give up a swing of 8 victory points, effectively.
Yeah, you can't. Gargants can't do this.
Yeah. God, there's so many other problems with this. My head hurts thinking about it.
I hate this battle plan for every single reason.
The twists and turns or whatever. It's just two objectives is just boring. Like we had this battle plan like way back in the day called like sudden death or something. Where it's like if you controlled both, you immediately won the game or something.
Knife to the heart.
Knife to the heart. Right. Yeah. And like it was boring. I think this is just as boring. I don't think this should be in any like you could make like a cool fun game with your friend if you want to introduce them to AOS or something. Sure, do this. And you both have garrisonable units. Be like, cool, I'm protecting my tower. You protect your tower. But like,
that's not match play though.
Path to Glory map. This is a Path to Glory map. The writers like mixed it up. They flipped a plan on accident, and the Path to Glory. I bet the next Dawnbringer Crusade book is gonna have a random match play map in there, and people are gonna be so confused.
It's bad. We'll go over more detail like crunchy rules of why it's bad when we talk with Madigan. It just gets
Spoiler,
worse.
we're talking with Madigan.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So it just gets worse. There are layers of how bad this is. And it's like a rotten onion. So, yeah, the battle plans get worse, in my opinion, as you flip through the book. These are not sorted in any way. Like, it just happened to be that the good ones were the first 7, and then they were the bad ones, and then the 2 worst ones were at the end. So I feel like probably what happened was playtesting. They'd use the first, 6. They playtested them, and they didn't get around to the last 6. They really do just get worse. In really obvious ways. Like, how did nobody catch no reward without risk not having a deployment restriction?
I'm telling you that was intentional. Like, 100% GW just copy and paste things.
Maybe. Like, if it's not intentional, it's super weird. So
no playtester ever played it? Is that what we're saying? Have you played this?
Playtesters play this game?
Well, it's all the way in the back of the book, We just... All right, so there's somewhere between 8... about 8 good battle plans, depending on how you can argue for some of these. I think there's 7 good battle plans, personally, and that's not as good as we had last season. Last season, we were spoiled with good battle plans. There were 10.
Well, last season, some of them were a little more boring, though. Let's be real.
But they were good for match play purposes.
Yeah.
So the only ones I've ever, I would just roll them whenever I went to casual nights, and it was like, oh, it's twists and turns. We're not doing that one. Everything else I was okay with. I didn't have a problem with any other one. Then there's tournament organizers care about certain things, right? They typically don't like these kind of deployments because you typically have tables back to back set up across long ways. So it's very difficult for players to be if you have a table here and then another one touching it immediately and players have to set up on this intersection, it gets complicated. So tournament organizers tend not to like long table deployments. They like the shorter deployments. It's just easier to organize stuff that way. So we'll probably see 5 of these at tournaments for the most part. There's going to be a very common, top 7, pick 5 of them, something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. Yep.
Not their best work, not their worst. Could have been better. Hopefully they throw something at us with a battle scroll or something 6 months from now. Mix up the battle plans.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our review of the General's Handbook. It's not much. It's not like what we normally do a review. We normally do in-depth discussion. We have long. It's more like a first impressions, but reviews get more clicks, right? So.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd round out the discussion with just kind of open discussion, last thoughts on what we think about this, while we kind of sort armies into this kind of winners, neutral, and losers bracket.
Yeah.
So I guess Caleb and Mergonk, you guys can't see this. You'd have to open up the stream. But basically, we're making a tier list, just discussing how armies are going to fare, obvious winners and losers from this book. Based on everything we've said, I'm going to say the first one, I think Stormcast are winners. I think Stormcast come out looking a lot better in this book than we did in the previous one. All the rules that benefit casting, Stormcast are a casting army, but they're not a good casting army, and that seems to be exactly what you want to be in this book. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, minimal casts. You're not going for volume of casts.
Sure.
You just got a couple casts that if they go off, great. If they don't, that's probably fine too.
Yeah, the tactics really suck, and that's going to make it harder.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something in the battle scroll. We'll see.
Yeah, it makes you want to run Dracots and Dragons pretty much to help with that. But yeah, we're definitely winners here.
Okay, cool. Nurgle? How's Nurgle looking?
Losers.
Really?
Just from the rules here, not from
active points.
Do they have any spells they want to cast? Do they have any teleports?
Battle plans are more spread and require some mobility, so Nurgle definitely doesn't like that.
They don't have a lot of movement. That's my problem.
Yeah.
They'll still just do Puscoil fly spam, and now so many things kill their wards, it's not even worth it.
So a weak army gets weaker. Sad.
As far as the GHB rules go, and the battle plans, it's probably a losers. I don't know if it's that heavy. As far as how they're balanced now, yeah. Because this isn't a tier list. It's more of a...
No, just looking at the GHB, not looking at anything else that could happen. No errata, no points, nothing. Just these rules. I think Fire Slayers are losers then, by that definition. They don't get stick advantage in any of the cool new
Yeah, they
Locus
do. They got
stuff.
Nullstone Adornments. They'll still be able to use a Primal Dice to unbind stuff. They've got, they're doing okay. Yeah.
How useful is a 4-up spell ignore in an army that already has a 4-up spell ignore?
But you can take the other one too.
No,
Stop some multiple
I don't think you do
casting.
that. I think in Fire Slayers you go Incanter Battle Mage for like that Andtorian Primal Dice crap.
Okay, I can see that.
You don't need Primal Dice to unbind. You don't need a Locus to unbind. You can unbind.
I just want the extra Primal Dice to unbind. I'm not even casting anything necessarily.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Primal
Battalion.
Dice, you can use it even though you're not a Locus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean is having an Incanter and Battle Mage unlocks that Battalion for me to get extra Primal Dice. Plus, I can always use Magic Dominance just to cast Mystic Shield and be okay.
I guess so, yeah. That's alright.
So they're good. I think they're good.
Winners?
I mean, the losing Galatian Champion protection sucks, and Galatian Veterans, but it just means we'll gravitate towards Hearthguard more, honestly.
So is it a neutral or?
Let's say neutral.
Actually, I'll go neutral now, unless we see points. I don't know. So
okay.
KO. Their heroes can be shot. They don't have wizards. Losers. Bridge nerf.
Neutral.
Probably neutral. Bridge nerf is kind of nice, but
output goes down. So I'm gonna say neutral for now.
Yeah, I would say neutral as well.
Okay.
I mean, the battle plans now make them have to use their movement and such to get around. So, I don't know.
I think the battle plan having spread objectives is really bad for them because they need to concentrate their forces. Despite being a mobile army, it's like the whole army moves together. They don't have like you can't send 3 Skyriggers out to an objective.
Yeah, so
like
probably
they need to be
neutral
healing the boat.
In general. Yeah.
I don't think they really benefit from anything. Like the fact that their heroes get shot now is really bad for them. I'd call them losers, but if you guys both say they're neutral, I'll put them there. Idneth. They're one of those like weak caster armies. They can Steed of Tides.
But they're kind of like us, actually. Honestly, they're kind of like us.
They can't
just
get
don't
worse.
have an auto unbind. I mean, they can take Incanter, and they usually do, or want to. I think it's probably a winner, right? Assuming like they get some balance. Like obviously we're not talking about points. So
I'm gonna blanket assume that all the year 1 armies are gonna get some serious points cuts.
Yeah, if you're at a 40, sub 45% win rate, you're getting points probably.
So with that assumption, I'm gonna say they're a winner.
Okay, that's fair.
We might not, but IDK would.
It can't get worse, surely, right? It really can't get any worse for them.
I think they win.
Oh, okay. Also, we also have to consider book tactics when we do this, because if battle tactics and general strategies are going to be a lot harder, then book tactics do come into play. And I think for that reason, I think like something like Tzeentch, big winner.
IDK don't have good book tactics though.
They sort of do.
You got like one. Like I don't know.
They have a couple. They have a couple, like kill something with like eels and like not have anything within a boat or something.
All right. Soulblight. Tzeentch is a winner. Yeah, I even though this is making their magic relatively worse, let's say through a very convoluted process. Yeah, they just benefit enough. I think ogres being able to shoot heroes is good with Iron Blasters. Iron Blasters are going to come back, but they don't really.
No, they don't deal with volley. Yeah.
They have wizards. They have few wizards, which is like the thing that's being boosted the most is these few wizard armies.
Home on like one of the Stonehorns, really, one of the heroes.
So that's going to be risky. I think people will eventually pick up on the wizard killers.
I think ogres stay where they are.
Neutral.
Yeah, it's not really.
Always been monster trucks, shooting support, monster trucks, or I think it doesn't change.
Okay.
I think whatever they can do with Hoarfrost is going to be cute, but I think ultimately their playstyle stays the same. Like they don't do anything differently.
Okay, yeah.
I'll be right back. Tell me about Gits.
Winners.
Gits are probably winners.
Yeah, they have good spellcasting.
Hoarfrost is actually really good for them because they generally have bad hit and wound.
Yeah, they have very cheap units that can become very efficient with Hoarfrost and all the buffs.
Yeah, they can.
So yeah,
Hoarfrost is basically like buffing another unit for them. Like they can use all their normal buffs on one unit and they can buff another one basically.
Gits is a winner.
Hoarfrost is good for all their profiles because they rely on volume, even if it's like bad hit or wound versus rend and stuff. Yeah.
Think they'll use that wizard fighting battalion a lot for Gits?
Oh, probably. They don't care about
They can
being
afford it. Yeah, they can afford it. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They'll probably use both. Yeah, honestly, they could run like
Yeah.
6 heroes and be like Andtorian, Locus, Command Entourage.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd call them winners.
Anyone
Is
who
there-
has crazy spells, like teleporting crazy spells that go, or like Bigfoot of Gork spells that go off on like 8 or 9, they're gonna love it. It's like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
like Unga Bunga, just, oh yeah, let me cast my Foot of Gork. Boom, boom, boom.
Dude, I'm telling you, Iron Jaws I think could do like almost all of the battle tactics pretty easily.
Yeah, like I was surprised. I read them, I'm like, there's nothing here that I would say Iron Jaws can't do.
Yeah,
Like,
I
everything's
know.
pretty
I was talking to Cody Saltz about it. He was like super excited about the friggin' tactics and Iron Jaws.
So sounds like
I get
Iron
that.
Jaws and Gits are both winners.
I'll see
Yeah,
I think Cruel Boys are winners too. Is that weird?
No,
I
no,
mean,
they are.
if you're talking just the GHB, yeah.
I haven't heard anybody call them winners in a long time.
Can they win anymore?
They have a great spell lore. Like
They do.
the Cruel Boy
Yeah.
spell lore is something that looks like it was designed this year. It's that powerful, right? Shut off wards, -1 attack. Their spells are incredibly good. They've
Move
just
a monster.
never, they've just never had consistency in spellcasting. That's always been their Achilles heel. In addition, just terrible stats and poorly costed units. But in terms of spellcasting, they didn't have consistency, right? Now they do, and Gobsprak is very good at unbinding and punishing wizards when he unbinds. So
Yeah, punishing wizards is cool.
So Locus being able to cast 2 spells,
True.
bonuses.
When they kill Gobsprak, you get the tactic. Oh my gosh, look at that.
It's not going to be enough, obviously, right? Like Cruel Boys are not a good army for many more reasons than just casting. But I think you have to call them winners. They look better.
Yeah, they're better.
Mm-hmm.
OBR, I think, are the same.
Yeah, OBR feels the same.
They're already somewhat.
Everybody's pivoting hard to Null Myriad now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's just
Yeah.
they were doing that anyway. Honestly, like
But
I don't think you needed
They
Petrifex
already
Elite.
have a lot of very efficient units and attacks and command abilities that make your stuff efficient. Hoarfrost is cute, but it's like, cool, I'll just make our stuff more efficient, or I'll just like do my normal.
They honestly won't take it, I think.
Yeah.
Hoarfrost on guard is good. It's very
Yeah.
good. They wound on 4s. You can change that to 1s, or you can give them Rend 3 and then bludgeon up to Rend 4.
Mhm.
Mortec guard spam will be a real thing. I'm very worried that they're going to reduce the points on it, and they shouldn't because that unit is very good.
We'll see, but I think
Even
they're
with the Harvester not
they
being as
just-
great.
They do their thing.
Yeah.
I think.
Even without a harvester, you just bring more Mortec. Yeah. Lumineth, they're a caster army, but I think they look worse.
No, Lumineth, I think they lose.
Mainly because Teclis is not that good without Primal Dice. If he can't use Primal Dice, then Teclis is bad.
And
Yep.
even their Warscroll, what is it called? The auto cast on a 9, Deep Thinkers is just not as good.
Because that can't use Primal Dice, right?
It's unmodified.
I think it's. Is it attempt to cast?
It's just it happened. It
Can't be
casts
modified, I
on
think,
an
still?
unmodified 9.
Yeah, I think it's unmodifiable. So yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Deep Thinkers can't be modified.
Cannot be modified.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like Teclis's.
So we're assuming that Primal Dice are a modifier and you can't use it there.
I think that's going to be the cleanest way to do it. If they don't, if they put out an FAQ that says Primal Dice are not modifiers, there's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Teclis looks a lot weaker. On the other hand, Teclis being weaker kind of unshackles the army. And we started to see that, I don't know. At the very end of this past season, I saw people doing Wind Charger Sentinels, Sharpshooters, drop the Battle Regiment. You just play the army differently than just a castle. It's more like a mobile kind of send out attack fighters kind of thing.
That was better for them, but there's just more tools to stop like individual worst casts.
My issue is there's a lot of alphas in this game right now. There's Slanesh Alpha, there's KO Alpha, and there's Seraphon Alpha. How do they survive that? Without Teclis?
Screening, positioning well, throwing away Wind Chargers as screens. I think it's possible. I really do think it's possible.
Also remember, they're also a low damage army. They're efficient but low damage. That's the problem.
Well, no, they're inefficient. That's another problem. They're inefficient and low damage.
I mean, like they're pinpoint precise damage, but they're not high damage.
Yeah.
So,
well, they can shoot heroes freely, which is good.
Ooh, yeah. The Sentinels will be picking off all those wizards real easy.
It's hard to say. I want to say they got worse. But
I think they got worse.
They got worse, to be honest.
There's other stuff they lost too, because Teclis isn't just like your Total Eclipse, Teleport.
I mean, he's a spell ignore as well, which doesn't matter.
He also does things like Howling Gale, which is like shut off commands for like a bunch of stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
light mattered.
This Lumineth list called a Lumineth Stunlock, which plays like a bunch of lockdown spells like Stone Mage, Cathaler, one of the Scenari spells or whatever. So I could see that maybe have to play. But the faction itself is a little worse.
Well, I don't know, because I think maybe with Primal Magic you'd have enough consistency without Teclis. Because if you're landing like
you can totally pivot into Zytrek instead of Helon.
No, I'm saying you stay Helon and you use the extra primal dice
Helon
for stuff like transporting Vortex on 20 Sentinels, which previously without Teclis was a stupid thing to do, unless you had the Twin Stones, right? But I think that might be a viable option now. But I think overall, just the loss in power of Teclis, and I don't think they'd receive enough point changes and anything to compensate for it. I think that's going to have to come 3 months down the road when Lumineth hit like 46% win rate or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
Losers for now.
All right, Caleb, what do you think? Seraphon, winners, losers?
You know, it's 2 different armies, Starborn and Coalesced.
Okay. Let's hear it for each one.
I think Starborn goes down a little bit without just solely based on cogs.
Okay.
It's a riskier. You're gonna fail entire turns with that army, especially with some of the anti-magic tools. It's still very good, and it probably needed a little turn down, I think, against some things.
Though.
I think Starborn gets a little worse because people are going to be a little bit better at unbinding. They're going to have ways to shut down Croak, that type of stuff. Coalesced probably gets a little bit better because I want to take some of these abilities with a caster that I might not have taken in Coalesced before. So I kind of like it over there.
Looks really cool on Warriors.
Yeah.
Frost Warriors looks cool.
I think Starborn gets better. I think the Croak stuff gets worse because people are going to be unbinding on 3d6. But like teleporting a Starseer forward and whipping an Aether Void Pendulum through them after disabling wards, and then vassal casting a bunch of stuff, and then the Skink Starseer has another spell. It's going to be cool. There's no more Tunnel Master though, which sucks. It's a risky maneuver. So I just teleporting into range with Merciless Blizzard is going to end games.
Yeah, that's true. It's any army that has a teleport in the hero phase where they can still cast that Blizzard.
Yeah.
Seems
like a winner.
Yeah.
And these are also the armies that oh god, does Lumineth pivot into Kronspine? I think they do.
Do they?
Yeah. It's what they need. It's a forward defensive point that they can move around.
I'm not
and they can
sure.
rupture easily.
Kronspine isn't very much like volume. What they need is volume. Like you're gonna need more wind chargers.
Cut Teclis for Kronspine and more wind chargers. I think it works. Okay. Yeah, I think Seraphon looked better overall. Starborn may have taken a bit of a hit in some ways, but yeah, teleporting Blizzard is too much. You can't 4d6 mortals, man. It's so stupid. And you follow it. And that's after disabling wards.
And that's just some of that, 4d6 mortal wounds on addition to the other mortal wounds is just kind of a bonus. So there's plenty of mortal wounds to give out.
And then you use the 15 cosmic power thing to do d6 mortal wounds again. And then you pendulum for another d6. Oh my god.
It gets a little silly sometimes.
Take 66 mortal wounds. Congrats.
That's pre errata, who knows what they're gonna change. But
we'll see.
Yeah.
Slaanesh. Better, worse? What are we thinking?
Worse because the Miracle isn't refined, and those barbs are probably gonna get hit, and Hoarfrost and the New Lord does nothing to them.
But just looking at the GHB rules.
Yeah, just GHB.
They are one of those weak caster armies that could really benefit from more consistency in both casting and unbinding.
No, because their best caster is a reroll caster.
True. But the Keeper and stuff, they could use it.
Sure. But it really doesn't help out the Contorted Epitome, which is like, I think, in my opinion, that's probably the best unit in that book right now.
And we're thinking Rapturus doesn't work with Primal Dice, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think Rapturus does, but we'll see. Because it's kind of weird. Because I think isn't Rapturus a must wording? It's a whole thing, honestly.
It is a must, but it's also like you can wait to see, be like, okay, this is my casting roll. I can add a Primal Dice to it.
And now it can't be rerolled.
And so they can't reroll it after that because Primal Dice cannot be used with a reroll.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think Slaanesh gets worse as a result of these rules. They don't really have any they can't really take advantage of the new rules like Seraphon and Stormcast and Orcs can. And I like the increased unbinding for them because they struggle with magic right now, man. They are hurting against spells. But yeah, a little bit worse. Gargants, they have to be winners, right? Like they can't be losers.
Yeah, this is better than the previous GHB rules for them.
Until
100%.
Yeah, the Nullstone 4-up Spellignor is great.
My issue with that is, like, I think Gargants are gonna if Hoarfrost is gonna be as popular as I think it is, I think Gargants are just gonna die like that. I understand what you're saying with the Primal Unbind, they could make sure that doesn't go off.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, let's say you commit one Primal Dice, they commit a Primal Dice because you both have one, and they fail for whatever reason, and that unit gets into combat, that's a Gargant dead.
Yeah, it's gonna feel bad when you don't roll the 4-up. Because they're not taking Andtorian, whatever the battalion is.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't.
Yeah, Hoarfrost. I don't know how many units it's going to go on, right? Because Veterans is gone. Let's keep that in mind. It's not like we're going to be fighting with 30 ghouls at a time anymore. That's not a thing.
Sure.
You'll get 2 ranks in. You won't get like
everything.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, with Hoarfrost that could be enough, and plus all their attack buffs that they have from the heroes.
Okay, so let's talk Feck. I guess Morgonki haven't seen the new Warscrolls yet because all the rerolls are gone.
Yeah, that's good.
They auto wound on 5s and 6s though instead, so it's like a
6 blow. Yeah, it's okay.
It works.
Winners, losers. What are we thinking? I think they're like one of those mid-caster armies. Like doesn't do a lot of casting, like Stormcast. They have a couple.
They don't like that their heroes can get shot again, so there's that.
They can't really take advantage of the spell ranges with endless spells. Like they don't have any teleports or range boosts or anything.
Not in the hero phase, yeah.
It's kind of like a Slaanesh situation then, right?
Yeah. I think they're neutral. I think
they're neutral. Like they
rely on cheap as hell stuff, summoning and their tricks to win the games. So.
In terms of just the GHB though, I think they look worse.
Yeah.
Only these rules, nothing else.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Khorne?
Khorne, winner.
Okay.
Khorne is definitely a winner. This is just more tools to, keep doing what they were doing before.
They're gonna feast on some wizards.
Yeah. And they have a new grand strategy that's really nice for them. Kill wizards. Like
no wizards left. Yep.
Wizards left. Yep.
Is there any argument to them not being better? Battle tactics, grand strategies, battle plans.
Cast a spell unless they bring like Bellicor or something. They can't complete the master magic, whatever.
I think they're fine without that.
I think they're fine. I think they have enough tactics to compensate for that. Even if they can replace.
They can murder lust into range and then retreat. They're 2 units. Duh.
Yeah, that's true. That is the big one. They could murder lust and then back.
They could do a lot of things. They have so much tools. Like that army is just such a toolkit. It's ridiculous.
Might be tough for battle tactics for them because they need to fight to do a lot of their tactics.
Yeah. Yes, Ruff was saying turn 1 battle tactic is going to be the hardest. That's why they have
Killer Instinct, Bloodbind, and Murder Lust. That's fine.
I think Khorne brings enough stuff that they can do the one where you're just on the side of the thing, like Reavers over here, Fleshhounds over here, whatever. Not a big deal, I don't think. Sylvaneth.
Winner.
I think they're winners.
Okay.
I think if
They've still got casting through trees and all that
they
jazz.
have their own spell portal, and I swear to God, if they don't errata Primal Dice to not,
it's going to be
the Warsong Bomb, you're gonna get blizzarded from a Warsong Bomb.
Yeah, you're gonna get very hurt from that Warsong.
Yeah, but not from a spell portal because you can't change the location of Blizzard, right?
No. They're not Blizzard. You're gonna get the Warsong spell.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna hurt.
You can add Primal Dice because it counts the casting roll.
It just says casting value. It doesn't care about unmodified.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. So they're winners. Okay.
Yeah, they're chilling. They
also,
just get better.
You have a lot of movement with Kurnoth and stuff, and Hoarfrost is extremely good for them because making any Kurnoths like Wound on 2s or Rend 3.
Not even Kurnoths, the Revenant Seekers I think would love it too.
The sword ones,
they?
The sword Kurnoths?
Oh, the sword ones, yeah.
Yeah, you move those to Rend 2, they're chilling.
They're pretty chilling, yeah. I mean, you're still looking for 6s to Mortal Wounds, I think. But, we'll see.
I could see some problems for Sylvaneth, namely that 3d6 unbinding against their Spite Swarm Hive really sucks.
Yeah, they're sitting outside of range most of the time, but yeah.
They're in the corner, man. They don't care.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're winners. Slaves of Darkness, I think, are winners. Cabalist looks a lot better. Vanguard with Hoarfrost.
Slaves of Darkness with Primal Dice are automatically 46 before anything else.
Yep. And you roll the 3 dice first, and then you choose if you want a Primal.
And then you choose if you want to add one more.
I can't wait until they Primal Miscast. And does the Primal Miscast take up their regular Miscast? Yeah. So this is actually an improvement.
It's going to stop them from
Miscasts.
Yeah.
They could do 2d6, a d6 and a d3 plus 3, so they're dead.
I hope that's how it works. Night Haunt. They don't really take advantage of the spell stuff very much, do they? They have
don't have a lot of wizards, so it actually works out for them.
They have the one Locus and Olander.
Yeah. No, not Olander. Guardian Souls or something.
No, and Olander. They have those two.
She's unique. She's unique though.
Oh, I was saying just counting wizards. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's not a Locus. She is a 2-spell wizard. She can't learn any new spells.
Ragnar has a +2.
Yeah. I guess Olander could teleport herself into range with tether and then hit you with a pendulum or something.
Sure.
It's okay. I wouldn't call them winners though. I don't know.
Right now they just Midnight Tome anyway. So.
Yeah. There's nothing in here that benefits hordes. They're losing veterans. Losing veterans is the big one. They're losers.
Oh yeah, that's what's gonna hurt them because Blade guys are not gonna have the same output. Dreadside Heritons aren't gonna have the same output, and the only thing left is Grimghast Reapers, and they hit on 4s. So.
1s with Hoarfrost. Is that enough?
I don't know.
Probably not. 8-inch move.
They don't have a lot of things in their army that can take that lore and be reliable casters.
Yeah. Primal Dice help.
But imagine a turn where nobody rolls a 4-up. It's happened. Both of us, I've had both players.
Yeah.
Heroic willpower. Or whatever.
I guess they can Tome Cruciator and go with Guardian of Souls in the battalion. Try to get the extra dice.
Mm-hmm.
From that, yeah. Losing veterans is just such a big blow to them, and their heroes can be shot now. Yeah, that sucks. And there's shooting that gets through spirit hosts, which is brutal. Man, Bliss Barbs are devastating.
Yeah, the shooting that's popular right now is volume shooting, KO and such. So they just
and the ability to turn off ward shooting, so you can't even discorporate.
Geminids, yep, can't be warded anymore. Yikes. Beasts of Chaos. I think they're losers, right? Because a lot of their stuff is off the table that's not interacting with casting or unbinding.
Yeah. Wizards is gonna hurt them more than it helps them.
Yeah. Thygors are cool, but it's not enough.
At least they're not getting hit by any offensive spells turn 1.
That's true. I think they stay where they are. I think it's the same. You null deploy most of your stuff. You come in, you charge your Bulgar bombs or whatever, and you hope.
Yeah, but shards though, right? Or not shards. Is it shards? No teleport.
Or shards. Shards.
That could affect them.
How many people will take it is the question. So
we'll see.
If shards becomes
strictly GHB, I think it's losers.
It's if these starts doing really well, people will start teching into shards, and that'll hurt them because if they null deploy all their wizards, then they can't come onto a significant portion of the board.
Just in terms of the GHB, I agree with Dan. I think they're losers.
I think it's losers. Yeah, just for GHB. Because we're not tier listing here. There are definitely going to be S tier armies that are neutral or
Crow Boys went from F tier to F tier, but they got better.
Yeah.
Skaven,
this isn't a tier list.
I think despite losing the Thankful Surfboard, I think Skaven are winners.
I think Skaven are winners, yep. 100% agree.
Being able to shoot heroes, that's going to be big for them.
And being able to add a whole bunch of casting, like, even if you do have Primal Dice, like, they can add, bonuses to cast like nobody else.
Plus, Hoarfrosting is very good in Skaven, yep.
They might swap Thankful out for a Kronspine and rupture it.
Gosh. You're just on it, Paul. On the poor Kronspine.
I hate
I
it, but I got
enemy here that can do that. I'll be honest.
What, the Kronspine thing?
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Everyone else can.
Oh, killing it, you mean? Or just rupturing it?
Oh, rupturing their Kronspine. Their own Kronspine.
I'm going to do it all the time. I'm never going to not do it. Like, I'm going to have so many Primal Dice. Like, you don't understand. I'm going second, and then every single round, I'm going to have, like, 6 Primal Dice, and I'm just going to blast my Kronspine every single time, and then it's going to eat a Spell Portal, and that's it. I win every game. It's the worst. It's the worst game ever. Cities of Sigmar, better?
I guess better, right?
They're so close to getting a new book, it's hard to care.
Yeah.
Tempest Eye looks better. Right? Reliable casting on Aura of Glory. That seems better.
I don't want to talk about cities until the new book comes out.
Okay, fair.
Probably just neutral. It's fine. Let's go.
Battle Mage is better. That's good enough, right?
Yeah.
Dude, don't take away our Battle Mage.
Daughters of Cain, I think, look better because
Definitely
more reliable Mind Razor, and you can Hoarfrost a second unit.
Yep.
That's one of the things this army was lacking was reliable casting. So, cool.
I think Daughters of Cain, they're winners. Yeah.
And then Soulblight, winners or losers?
I think
winners.
Neutral?
No, winners,
I
I think.
You think winners?
Yeah, because
I'm trying to look at just the GHB rules, and
Court of
I
Night
guess
makes
so.
him a winner.
Just the GHB rules, which includes the endless spell rules. I think they still have a strong objective game. They don't have enough like these critical massive spells that they absolutely need to get through. For them, it's nice to have. And the spells that they have that are nice to have are very nice. Like if you're talking about like a Neferata casting the ethereal spell or whatever. Sure, I'll use my Primal Dice on that if I need to really, really get it through. They have enough bonuses to cast with Corpse Carts and whatever abilities they have. They can get whatever spell they want, like Shackles, the new Shackles, or the new Pendulum in your face after teleporting with Legion of Night. I think it's nice.
Yeah, there's downsides, though. That Wizard Killer Battalion really sucks for them. Like, a lot of people are going to run it if Vampire Lord is still popular. He's just not going to be that tanky anymore. You're spending all these points in Ethereal, and then you just die in some matchups because people have the Wizard Battalion.
Yeah, the volume that can get past Ethereal.
That's pretty wild.
Maybe neutral. That's why I'm thinking neutrals. Like there's some neutrals.
I don't think they get worse.
I mean, I think they're still going to be an S tier army. Like I don't know if the nerfs are going to hit them hard enough.
It's also
I don't think they're going to change that 3-inch revive.
The shards really hurt them. Grave Wave really hurts them.
I mean, it's like we always say: if you let Soulblight go first, you're probably going to lose.
Can't let them take position.
Mm-hmm.
But now you also, in addition, like, I guess the Wizard Battalion isn't a battle regiment. That's a problem. Would they go Locus Battalion, you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're minimum 3 drop?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's keep them neutral. All right, so that's pretty good. Actually seems like it knocked a couple weak armies down and a couple strong armies a couple weak armies got bumped up. So that's cool. Can't wait to see what's in the battle scroll.
I don't think Nurgle and Nighthawk needed a hit, but
I gotta go. It's like midnight. So
yeah. All right, guys.
Caleb, thank you very much for coming. Dan,
dude, thank you.
It's good seeing you guys. And we'll be back later this week talking about the battle scroll.
We'll be back with Madigan Mason from. I'm sure a lot of you guys are in the AOS coach chat and see her and she's in our chats as well, answering questions. She's all about the rules and such. So we'll be talking about interactions and with the new GHB, and maybe points come out on Thursday.
Maybe on Thursday.
Or like comes out. So
yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for staying up late with us. Thank you, everybody, for watching all the way through, if you did.